Seus vastos espaços evocam em nós sentimentos de humildade e reverência, lembrando que somos apenas hóspedes neste planeta e que existem forças que transcendem nosso entendimento. No mesmo momento em que estamos na praia, ouvindo o som das ondas, sentimos como elas acalmam nossas preocupações e medos, como se nos abraçassem com carinho. O oceano guarda milhões de segredos que nos deixam sem fôlego. E é justamente essa combinação de beleza e perigo que o torna tão fascinante para a humanidade. Atrás de cada onda se esconde uma nova história, aguardando sua vez para ser contada. No final desta viagem mental pelas profundezas, desejo que você tenha uma noite tranquila, sob o som de ondas invisíveis que continuam a cantar suas canções, guardando seus sonhos, como guardam segredos esquecidos pelo tempo. Boa noite. On March 18th, 1960, something happened that changed humanity's understanding of the depths of the ocean. Jacques Picard and Don Walsh descended to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the Bathyscaphe, Trieste. Imagine a tiny cabin where space was limited to just 7 square meters. Every movement required caution, for even the slightest mistake could lead to disaster. As they descended, the water temperature dropped to 0 degrees Celsius, and the pressure around them increased to incredible 800 atmospheres, as if a whole mountain were pressing down on them. The silence inside the Trieste was oppressive. The sounds of the machinery working at its limits mixed with a soft hum as the bathyscaphe descended deeper and deeper. Beyond the porthole stretched absolute darkness, and each second seemed like an eternity. There were no sounds except the rustle of their own breathing and the quiet creaking of metal as it was compressed by the ocean's waters. Fear and excitement intertwined as the crew realized they were in the deepest point on the planet where no human foot had ever stepped before. Beyond their habitat lurked mysterious creatures, the existence of which had been unknown until that moment. At a depth of 10,900 meters, black, menacing silhouettes swam by, and the water temperature remained at a level that could freeze them in minutes if they were on the surface. At that moment, when the Trieste reached the bottom, they saw strange forms of life glowing in the darkness. Bioluminescent organisms that could become a real sensation for science. How could such creatures survive in such extreme conditions? The answer was simple. They had adapted to life in complete darkness and under pressure that could crush any other organism. But this was just the beginning. After a few minutes on the bottom, as they began preparations for their return, the crew realized they were part of history. As the bathyscaphe started to ascend, tension grew. Would they return to the surface alive? Their adventure became a symbol of human courage and the desire to explore the unknown. The experiments conducted on the bottom of the Mariana Trench opened up amazing prospects for studying life in extreme conditions. But do you know that in that very place on the ocean floor lies something that could change our understanding of life on Earth? The Mariana Trench, with a depth of 10,900 meters, it is the deepest point on the planet, located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, east of the Philippines. To imagine this abyss, consider that if Mount Everest suddenly appeared in the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be submerged underwater by 2 kilometers. This remarkable place was discovered in 1841 during the expedition of the ship Challenger, when scientists first recorded its depth using remarkable methods of measurement for the time. However, what is most astonishing about the Mariana Trench is the conditions that prevail there. The pressure exceeds 800 atmospheres, which is 800 times greater than the pressure on the Earth's surface. For comparison, this is like trying to hold 2 cars on your chest. The temperature in this abyss fluctuates around 0 degrees Celsius, and in some places it is even lower, creating extremely harsh conditions for life. Nevertheless, despite these extreme circumstances, organisms that can survive in such inhospitable conditions inhabit the trench's depths, making us wonder what other wonders are hidden in the ocean's depths. Deep-sea research has shown that a rich ecosystem thrives in this area, including amphipods the size of cats and unique jellyfish whose bodies glow in the dark. But what is truly intriguing is that scientists still do not fully understand how life can exist under such colossal pressures and cold, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Each year, new missions are sent to the Mariana Trench to uncover its mysteries, and each time they bring new discoveries that could change our understanding of life on Earth. For example, in 2019, researchers found unusual organisms that use sulfur for survival, challenging our conventional notions of photosynthesis. What do you think? What other mysteries are hidden in this impenetrable fortress of nature? Have you heard that 95% of the world ocean remains unexplored? Yes, you heard it right. This figure is shocking, especially when we realize that we know much more about the surface of the Moon. About 70% of Earth is covered by water, but only around 5% of this vast space has been explored using modern technologies. For comparison, when NASA astronauts went to the Moon in 1969, they already used data collected over decades to prepare for the mission. But how do we approach the exploration of the oceans? 80% of the ocean floor remains terra incognita, and this is truly astonishing. Modern submersibles and autonomous underwater vehicles can explore depths up to 6,000 meters, but this is just a tiny fraction of the ocean's total volume, which averages over 3,800 meters in depth. The most striking fact is that we have explored only 2% of the deep-sea world. This means we lack information about the scale of life forms hidden in the depths. Each new ocean expedition brings new discoveries. For example, in 2020, researchers found new types of bioluminescent jellyfish at depths of over 3,000 meters. And what is even more surprising, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we know more about the mechanisms of black hole formation in space than about the dynamics of ocean currents. How is this possible? This is due to the complexity of the technologies required for deep-sea research and the enormous financial costs of such expeditions. Now imagine this. Only 1% of the ocean's area has been explored using technologies similar to those used to study other planets. This disparity underscores how mysterious and enigmatic our own home is. And if you think this is already shocking, consider that the oceans may harbor up to 90% of all Earth's living species, about which we are not even aware. Deep-sea ecosystems are true mysteries hidden beneath the ocean's depths, where conditions reign that we can only speculate about. Imagine a world where pressure reaches 1,000 atmospheres and temperatures drop to 0 degrees Celsius. In such conditions, life not only survives but thrives. How is this possible? The answer lies in the unique mechanisms that evolve in the inhabitants of these depths. For instance, many organisms possess special proteins that reduce cell viscosity, allowing them to function even under immense pressure. And here's the most astonishing part. The absence of light is not a problem, but rather an opportunity. Deep-sea ecosystems often rely on chemosynthesis, a process by which energy is derived from chemical reactions, not sunlight. In some cases, organisms use sulfur or methane as an energy source, making them dependent on substances that we consider toxic. And that's not all. Adaptation to cold temperatures leads many species to develop antifreeze properties, preventing them from freezing. These mechanisms remind us of how life can take the most unexpected forms in the most extreme conditions, and each new research project opens new horizons for understanding these mysterious ecosystems. But here's what's even more shocking. Deep-sea ecosystems cover more than 70% of the planet's surface, and only a small fraction of them has been studied by humans. Anglerfish are true masters of survival in conditions of absolute darkness, and their adaptations are nothing short of remarkable. Imagine a fish with a bioluminescent lure that can glow in the dark like a star in the night sky. This lure, attached to a long stalk, attracts prey, that is completely unaware of the danger it faces. Anglerfish are experts at using light to lure their victims, turning them into easy meals. But what is most astonishing is the enormous maw of these creatures, which can open so wide that it can accommodate prey larger than the fish itself. Imagine a mouth that can stretch to 30 centimeters in width. It's like trying to swallow a whole chicken. How can such giants digest such large prey? The secret lies in the unique structure of their stomach, which produces powerful enzymes capable of breaking down even the toughest tissues. Anglerfish don't just eat their enemies, they literally dissolve them. Now consider that male and female anglerfish look completely different. Males are tiny creatures, no more than 10 centimeters long, and they usually lack both the lure and the large mouth. Their sole purpose is to find a mate, after which they fuse with the female, losing their individuality. Females, on the other hand, can reach sizes of up to 40 centimeters, and it is they who bear the bioluminescent lure, attracting prey into the dark depths of the ocean. But that's not all. Anglerfish can deceive their prey by using light not only as a lure, but also as a warning signal. When they sense danger, they can instantly turn off their glow, leaving their enemies confused. This ability to camouflage makes them true masters of survival in the treacherous environment of deep waters. What is even more shocking is that anglerfish can detect the electrical fields generated by their prey, allowing them to find food even in complete darkness. Every detail of their life in the ocean is an example of incredible adaptation to extreme conditions, and their abilities remain a mystery to scientists. For instance, some species of anglerfish inhabit depths of up to 2,000 meters, where the pressure exceeds 200 atmospheres. How do they cope with such conditions? Anglerfish have a unique cell structure that allows them to withstand such pressure. This adaptation makes them the top predators in their environment. Each new fact about them opens doors to a world full of mysteries and enigmas waiting to be discovered. Giant squids, whose length can reach up to 14 meters, have been the source of maritime legends and mysteries for centuries. The first mentions of them date back to ancient Scandinavian myths, where they were known as kraken, creatures capable of sinking ships with just a glance. In the 18th century, the famous Swedish naturalist Carl Linnaeus described these mysterious mollusks, although at the time, no one could imagine that these creatures actually existed. However, the discovery in the 1880s was a shock when sailors began finding enormous squid remains on the shore. It turned out that these monsters were not just products of imagination, but real creatures living in the deepest parts of the ocean. However, studying giant squids presented a real challenge for scientists. Their habitat at depths of up to 2 kilometers made them difficult to observe. It was not until 1998 that a Japanese research team first recorded a live giant squid on video. This event was a sensation. Until then, scientists could only rely on rare finds of dead specimens, and even their sizes were a matter of debate. While some squids could reach 30 meters in length, others remained a mystery, waiting to be revealed. But that's not all. In 2008, an expedition was conducted during which not only a giant squid was filmed, but also its natural behavior in the ocean depths. Now we know that these creatures can reach speeds of up to 30 kilometers per hour, thanks to the powerful contractions of their muscles, making them some of the fastest mollusks. But how do they hunt their prey in the darkness of the deep? The mystery of their hunting and interaction with the environment remains unsolved, as even modern technologies do not always capture their enigma. As we continue to explore these depths, new facts about the behavior of giant squids are revealed. They can use their tentacles, up to 4 meters long, to catch fish. The question arises, what other mysteries do these enigmatic ocean dwellers hide? Hydrothermal vents, known as black smokers, are true underwater oases that form on the ocean floor where tectonic plates collide. Under pressure exceeding 30 atmospheres, seawater penetrates cracks in the earth, heats up to temperatures around 400 degrees Celsius, and is forced back out through volcanic openings, creating characteristic black smokers. This hot water is rich in minerals such as sulfur, iron, and copper, which, when they reach the surface, form black streams resembling smoke. What is truly astonishing is that unique ecosystems form around these vents, completely independent of sunlight. How is this possible? At the heart of these ecosystems are bacteria that use chemosynthesis to obtain energy from chemical reactions occurring in the hot water. These microorganisms convert hydrogen sulfide released by the black smokers into organic compounds that form the basis of the food chain for other marine inhabitants. For example, tube worms that can reach a length of 1 meter and giant clams with shells the size of a bucket are just part of this remarkable world. They feed on bacteria and then become food for predators such as fish and crabs. These ecosystems attract the attention of scientists because they open new horizons in understanding life on Earth and the possibilities of its existence on other planets. For instance, on Jupiter's moons Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus, there may also be underwater oceans where conditions resemble those around black smokers. Research conducted on these vents shows that life can survive in extreme conditions using chemical energy sources, challenging traditional notions that life on other planets is only possible in the presence of sunlight. 86% of all known ecosystems on Earth are in the oceans, and black smokers are one of the most mysterious and least studied parts of them. They not only expand our understanding of biology but also raise questions about how life can adapt to the harshest conditions and what forms it can take in the farthest corners of the cosmos. What else do these enigmatic sources hide? Deep-sea currents are invisible rivers that flow beneath the surface of oceans, transporting colossal amounts of water over vast distances. These currents can reach depths of up to 4 kilometers and play a crucial role in regulating the planet's thermal balance. Imagine cold, dense seawater sinking to the ocean floor and then slowly moving towards the equator, carrying heat, carbon dioxide, and nutrients with it. This is not just a process, but a hidden machine that operates beyond our sight. Each year, these currents move approximately 100 million cubic meters of water, creating conditions that influence the climate of entire regions. Do you know that without these underwater rivers, the average temperature on Earth would be several degrees higher? This may seem insignificant, but such changes can have catastrophic consequences for ecosystems and climate. But that's not all. Deep-sea currents can alter their speed and direction in response to climate changes and seasonal fluctuations, making them even more mysterious. For instance, small temperature changes on the surface can cause powerful shifts underwater, which in turn affect weather and climate on land. And imagine how these underwater streams interact with the upper layers of the ocean, creating complex systems that can generate strong storms and even hurricanes. Remarkably, these water movements can reach speeds of up to 1 meter per second, comparable to a fast human runner. Additionally, when interacting with continental shelves, deep-sea currents form intricate structures such as underwater canyons and ridges, which serve as homes for numerous marine inhabitants. These ecosystems depend on the nutrients brought by the currents, creating an incredible diversity of life on the ocean floor. But do you know that climate change can threaten these vital flows? Changes in temperature and salinity can disrupt their usual paths, leading to unpredictable consequences for the entire world. Scientists are only beginning to understand how these hidden rivers work and what effects may arise if they change their course. It's fascinating that even small changes in these deep-sea currents can cause significant changes in ecosystems along coastlines and in the atmosphere. Every time we think we know everything about climate, new discoveries emerge, forcing us to reevaluate our understanding. What do you think are the secrets still hidden in these underwater currents? The Gulf Stream is not just a warm current, it is a powerful climatic conveyor belt that begins its journey in the Gulf of Mexico and rapidly moves through the Atlantic Ocean, reaching the shores of Europe. Imagine a flow of water transporting up to 100 million cubic meters of water per second. This is equivalent to each person on Earth pouring 36,000 buckets of water into the sea every second. The temperature of the Gulf Stream varies from 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, which is tens of degrees warmer than the surrounding waters, and it is this heat that makes the climate of Europe much milder than in other regions at the same latitudes. But how can such a vast amount of warm water affect the weather? The secret lies in the fact that the Gulf Stream not only warms the air over the Atlantic, but also creates conditions for the formation of cyclones and anticyclones, influencing rainfall and temperature in countries such as the United Kingdom and Norway. Did you know that this current also acts as a guardian for the coasts from cold air from the north? But that's not the most peculiar part. Research shows that the Gulf Stream moves at speeds of up to 4 kilometers per hour, and its power ensures the circulation of water around the world, linking climatic systems from the tropics to the polar regions. Scientists are increasingly concerned about the possible weakening of the Gulf Stream due to climate change, and this is cause for alarm. If the current changes its direction or weakens, Europe could face a sudden cooling. But here's the most astonishing part. Some theories suggest that in the past, the Gulf Stream has undergone changes, and this could have been the cause of climatic catastrophes such as the Little Ice Age. Imagine that in just a few decades, the temperature in Europe could drop by several degrees, and entire ecosystems could be on the brink of survival. And now, knowing its significance, the question arises, how quickly could it change again? The deep-sea current of the Southern Ocean, also known as the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, covers the entire continent and is one of the most powerful water flows on the planet. This current moves at speeds up to 30 kilometers per hour and plays a crucial role in the global ocean circulation system, connecting the waters of all oceans and facilitating the redistribution of heat around the Earth. Around Antarctica, the current forms a closed loop separating warm waters coming from the north from the cold Antarctic waters. But that's not the most peculiar thing. This current also helps absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, acting as a giant carbon pump. Estimates suggest that the Southern Ocean absorbs around 30% of the carbon dioxide emitted by humans, equivalent to billions of tons of gas every decade. How is this possible? The reason is that cold waters are denser and can hold more carbon dioxide than warm waters. Now imagine this. If global warming leads to an increase in water temperature, this process of absorption could be disrupted. And here's where it gets really alarming. If the current weakens, it will lead to an increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and consequently to even faster warming. Studies show that even small changes in the speed or direction of the current can have catastrophic consequences for the climate. For example, a sudden change in the direction of the waters of the Southern Ocean could threaten ecosystems that depend on cold waters, and this means that populations of whales and penguins, which depend on these ecosystems, could be at risk of extinction. What's even more shocking? Scientists suggest that if the temperature change continues at the current rate, the current could weaken by 10% over the next decades, leading to catastrophic consequences for the entire planetary climate. Water in the Southern Ocean also plays a significant role in the formation of ice shelves, such as the Ross Ice Shelf, which holds enormous masses of ice. If these shelves begin to melt due to changes in the currents, this could lead to a rise in global sea levels by several meters. Now imagine what would happen if the water level rose by 3 meters. This would mean that entire cities could be submerged. In this context, every change in the movement of the deep-sea current becomes a question not only of ecology, but also of human security. The Bermuda Triangle, this name sends shivers down the spine of many, doesn't it? This mysterious region, covering approximately 1 million square kilometers between Miami, the Bermuda Islands, and Puerto Rico, has become the epicenter of the most extraordinary disappearances of ships and aircraft in history. Imagine this. Over the past 100 years, more than 1,000 cases of disappearances of various vessels and aircraft have been recorded. Some researchers claim that this number could even be higher, reaching 2,000. How is this possible? One of the reasons is that this area is renowned for its unpredictable weather and erratic ocean currents, which can deceive even the most experienced sailors. But this is not all. The aura of mystery surrounding the Bermuda Triangle attracts not only scientists, but also thrill-seekers. People have been trying to unravel the secrets hidden beneath these waters for years. Some assert that there are magnetic anomalies that can disrupt navigational instruments, causing aircraft and ships to vanish without a trace. Others do not rule out the possibility of atmospheric phenomena such as sudden tornadoes or giant waves that can literally tear apart any vessel. But what is even more shocking? There are theories linking the Bermuda Triangle to extraterrestrials who supposedly abduct ships and aircraft for their research. Yes, you heard it right. Scientific research shows that in this area there are indeed unusual phenomena that cannot be explained. For instance, in 30% of cases of disappearance at depths greater than 2 kilometers, the remains of vessels are found, but without any trace of the crew. How can this be? Each year, dozens of research expeditions are sent to this zone, and each of them leaves behind more questions than answers. Were these disappearances the result of human error or natural disasters? Or were they victims of something far more mysterious? The questions multiply and the answers become fewer. And who knows what else this mysterious area hides? Research shows that in the Bermuda Triangle there are numerous underwater volcanoes that can cause strong earthquakes and tsunamis. Imagine how underwater forces of nature can affect navigation in this part of the world. But this is just one of the theories, and each of them opens new horizons for research. Consider this. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not just a geographical zone, but something far more mysterious waiting to be discovered. It all began on December 13, 1945, when a squadron of 5 torpedo bombers, Squadron 19, disappeared without a trace while conducting a training flight over the waters of the Bermuda Triangle. Each aircraft was equipped with powerful engines and could reach speeds up to 130 kilometers per hour, but none of the pilots suspected that this flight would become one of the most mysterious episodes in aviation history. As soon as the planes took off, they began reporting unstable weather conditions, but this did not cause concern. 18 minutes later, one of the pilots, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, transmitted a radio message stating that they had lost their way and could not determine their location. "We are in an area that does not correspond to any map," he said, and this was his final message. For the next hour, contact with the planes was lost, and a massive search operation was launched involving dozens of ships and aircraft. The search efforts continued for 3 days and covered an area of 331,000 square miles, but yielded no results. And then the strangest thing happened. One of the rescue planes sent to assist them also disappeared without a trace in the same area where Squadron 19 had vanished. The Cowboy, as it was called, disappeared in the same area. Soon, reports of strange phenomena in the sky began to emerge, such as bright lights and unknown sounds. Some witnesses claimed to have seen something brightly lit rising into the air, further fueling the legends about the mysterious Bermuda Triangle. More than 130 aircraft and 14 ships participated in the operation, but none of them found any trace of the missing planes. What is truly shocking, several weeks after the tragedy, the Naval Service discovered several debris that, according to experts, could not have belonged to any of the lost planes. These facts raise numerous questions, and researchers still do not have a definitive answer to what happened to Squadron 19 on that fateful day. The ship Cyclops, measuring 180 meters in length and with a displacement of over 9,000 tons, disappeared in the waters of the Bermuda Triangle, leaving behind only mysteries. On board were 336 people, including the crew and passengers, who set sail from Barbados to the United States in March 1918. The last known location of the ship was in an area where calm waters and clear skies were observed, but no distress signals were received. This was a shock for sailors and authorities, as the Cyclops was one of the most reliable ships of its time, built for military purposes during World War I. After its disappearance, numerous theories emerged. Some claimed it was a victim of a hurricane, while others suggested a possible attack by a submarine, a concern of the time. However, none of these explanations could account for the absence of any trace of the ship in the part of the ocean where it vanished. This led to more mystical explanations, including theories about parallel worlds and even extraterrestrial interference. The Cyclops became part of the mythology of the Bermuda Triangle, leaving behind questions that remain unanswered to this day. Long searches have yielded no results, only increasing interest in the case. Unexpectedly, in 1930, another ship, the Scripps, disappeared in the same area, adding more intrigue to the mysterious disappearances. Researchers continue to puzzle over how a ship 180 meters long could simply vanish into the ocean, leaving behind only silence. The place where the Cyclops disappeared has been the subject of numerous expeditions, but one detail remains unchanged. Not a single piece of debris or fragment of the ship has been found. The waters of the Bermuda Triangle continue to hold their secrets, and each new search only emphasizes the inexplicability of this phenomenon. Beneath the Bermuda Triangle lie mysteries that scientists are trying to unravel with numerous scientific explanations. One of the most intriguing factors is the methane releases that occur from the ocean floor. Imagine, underwater deposits containing large reserves of methane can suddenly be released, forming powerful bubbles that rise to the surface. These bubbles can burst through the water's surface, creating massive geysers that can sink ships as if they were hit by an invisible enemy. Studies conducted in 2016 showed that such releases occur in regions where underwater karst formations have been found on the ocean floor, and this could indeed explain the disappearance of some ships. But that's not all. Magnetic anomalies in the Bermuda Triangle also play a role in this mysterious phenomenon. It is known that in this area, fluctuations in the magnetic field can cause compasses to malfunction. Scientists have discovered that this is one of the 2 points on Earth where the magnetic field crosses the equator, which can lead to navigation failures. This can be particularly dangerous for ships and aircraft that rely on the accuracy of navigation instruments. Now imagine that the weather in this area can be so unpredictable that even the most experienced captains cannot avoid trouble. Here, powerful storms can arise in a matter of minutes. Meteorological studies show that the combination of warm and cold waters in this region creates ideal conditions for the formation of tornadoes and hurricanes that can blow any ship off course. But that's not all. Human error also contributes to the enigma of the Bermuda Triangle. According to a study conducted in 2018, about 30% of all incidents were related to human errors, from lack of experience to incorrect use of navigation systems. These factors combined create a real cocktail of dangers that can lead to catastrophes. And the most shocking thing, scientists still haven't found a definitive answer to what is really happening in these waters, and research continues. Sea Devil, or Dragon's Hole, it's not just a name, but a powerful oceanic phenomenon capable of drawing everything in its path into its whirlpools. Imagine a whirlpool with a diameter of several hundred meters, whose current can pull ships and even large vessels underwater in just a few seconds. In some cases, the speed of the flow can reach 80 kilometers per hour. These whirlpools form due to a unique combination of factors: currents, seabed topography, and wind strength. But that's not all. They can appear in any part of the ocean where ideal conditions are created. The Sea Devil has captivated human imagination for centuries and inspired numerous myths and legends across different cultures. In Greek mythology, there were many tales of sea monsters that dragged sailors into their depths. In Norse mythology, it was said that Midgard had whirlpools that were considered gates to other worlds. And now imagine how entities called yurei might appear in these mysterious whirlpools, causing sailors to tremble with fear in Japanese legends. But what's even more shocking, research shows that some of these phenomena can form due to changes in water temperature and salinity. When cold and warm waters collide, it can cause powerful vortices that draw in all living things. For example, in tropical zones where water temperature can fluctuate between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius, such whirlpools can be particularly dangerous for small boats and fishing vessels. There are even documented cases where entire groups of ships have disappeared without a trace in these mysterious places. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1925 when a small ship vanished in waters where such whirlpools were known to exist. Scientists are still trying to determine what forces were at play when that ship disappeared. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Research shows that these whirlpools can also affect marine ecosystems. They can move large volumes of water, influencing the distribution of plankton and, consequently, the entire food chain. This means that marine life can change due to these powerful currents. Imagine creatures living on the ocean floor where currents meet, creatures that we might not even suspect, seemingly insignificant but possessing incredible strength. These beings could be not only dangerous but also crucial for understanding the complex ecosystems of the ocean. For example, some deep-sea fish have the ability to bioluminesce using light for hunting or protection when they find themselves in waters with whirlpools. But that's not all. Scientists believe that studying the sea devil can not only help us unravel its mysteries, but also open new horizons in understanding the oceans and their role in the global ecosystem. So, if you thought this was just a myth, think again. Maelstrom is not just a whirlpool, it is a genuine natural anomaly located between the islands of the Lofoten archipelago in northern Norway. Every 6 hours, when the tides reach their peak, this whirlpool captures the attention of both locals and tourists. Its diameter is about 30 meters, and its flow can reach 14 knots, comparable to the speed of a small boat. Imagine the power of nature that can suck everything within its reach into its depths. The most intense flows occur during the spring tides, when the difference between high and low tides is most pronounced, creating powerful water vortices that can raise waves up to 4 meters high. But this is not the most unusual thing. The whirlpool forms vortices that can suck in not only fish but also entire boats, making it truly dangerous for sailors. Maelstrom has not gone unnoticed in literature. Edgar Allan Poe described it as a symbol of unpredictability and chaos in his story, Harriet, while Jules Verne used it as a backdrop in his thrilling narrative 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, adding elements of tension and danger. In these works, Maelstrom became not just a geographical object but a symbol of humanity's struggle against the forces of nature, reminding us that even in the world of science, there are mysteries that cannot be solved. Did you know that in the 18th century, many sailors considered Maelstrom not just a whirlpool, but the gateway to another world? This romantic idea that the whirlpool could be some kind of portal continues to attract the attention of researchers and writers to this day. Naruto Whirlpool, located in a narrow strait between the Japanese islands of Awaji and Shikoku, is one of the most captivating natural phenomena in the country. Imagine whirlpools reaching 7 meters in diameter and creating vortices with enough power to drag even small boats into their depths. They form due to the complex interaction of tidal currents that change with the lunar cycle. During full moons and new moons, the current speed increases to 7 knots, making the whirlpool particularly dangerous. This natural phenomenon, known since ancient times, has become the subject of many Japanese legends and myths. For instance, local residents believed that the whirlpools were gates to the other world, and those who dared to enter their waters were doomed. Over the centuries, the Naruto Whirlpool has inspired poets and artists, becoming a symbol of nature's power and human fragility. Today, this place attracts tourists from all over the world, Hundreds of people gather daily on observation platforms to watch the dance of these whirlpools which seem to live their own lives. To witness this incredible phenomenon, it's best to visit in the spring and fall months, when the tides are especially strong. Did you know that the Naruto Whirlpool is part of a national park where over 100 species of fish, including rare and endangered ones, inhabit? Local authorities actively develop ecotourism, offering tourists not only the opportunity to observe the whirlpool, but also excursions to nearby islands where they can see ancient temples and enjoy local cuisine. This natural phenomenon has become not just an object of interest, but also an essential element of the region's culture, where traditions and modern trends intertwine, creating a unique experience for every visitor. But the most amazing thing about the Naruto Whirlpool is that it can form multiple vortices at once, creating a unique spectacle reminiscent of natural fountains rising high into the sky. The Saltstraumen in Norway is not just a natural phenomenon, but a true wonder that astounds with its power. The flow speed reaches 36 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest tidal current in the world. This whirlpool forms in a narrow strait between the islands of Meløy and Vesterålen, where waters from the Norwegian Sea strive to enter the fjords, encountering narrow passages. The strait is only 300 meters wide, creating immense pressure on the water, resulting in powerful vortices and turbulent flows. But that's not all. The direction of the flow changes twice a day, when the tide and ebb create a continuous water cycle, filling and emptying this natural mechanism. The most fascinating thing is that as a result of this unique water interaction, thousands of fish gather in the Saltstraumen, including cod and herring, creating ideal conditions for fishing. Local fishermen know that in these waters they can catch the largest specimens as they gather in search of food that abounds in the churning flow. Moreover, these turbulent waters attract the attention of researchers and tourists who want to see the mesmerizing spectacle. Every year, thousands of people come here to observe the majestic vortices and astonishing marine creatures that inhabit the area around the whirlpool. The water in this place is rich in oxygen, creating ideal conditions for the marine world. Imagine seeing dolphins and even orcas hunting for fish using the power of the currents. But that's not the most unusual thing. In the waters of the Saltstraumen, even rare species of sea stars live, hiding among the rocks and vegetation. Every time the tide raises the water level, new opportunities arise for observing the marine ecosystem that thrives here. The Saltstraumen is not only a natural phenomenon, but also an important element of the local economy, providing income for fishermen and the tourism industry. With each new season, the power of this current continues to inspire and amaze, attracting more and more people. But did you know that in some places the flow speed can reach such levels that even small boats can be carried out to sea? Imagine a world where entire cities, once teeming with life, now lie at the bottom of the ocean. It sounds like a film plot, but it is a reality that makes archaeologists hold their breath. According to scientists, more than 8,000 submerged settlements are hidden beneath the waves, each one holding secrets that could reshape our understanding of history. But how could such massive structures end up underwater? The reasons are varied, from natural disasters to human activity, and each one opens a door to a world where technology and culture were vastly different. Do you know that some of these places have preserved their buildings and streets so well that you can almost envision how people lived there? Picture houses with wooden cladding, streets paved with stone slabs that might have been laid even before our era began. These are not just ruins. They are frozen moments in time that allow us to peer into the past. Scientists use modern technologies such as underwater drones and sonars to explore these submerged worlds. One of the most astonishing facts is that many of these cities have preserved their artifacts so well that they appear almost new. For instance, pottery and tools found in such places can reveal the daily life and culture of the people who lived there and give insight into how they interacted with their environment. But this is not the most incredible part. Do you know that in some places archaeologists find entire cemeteries that contain the remains of people buried with their personal belongings? This opens up incredible possibilities for studying their customs and beliefs. And here is where things get really mind-boggling. Some of these submerged cities were so large that they can be compared to modern megacities. Structures that could accommodate thousands of people and water supply systems so advanced that they could rival even today's cities. Yes, you heard it right. Underwater, there are technologies that could revolutionize our understanding of human civilization's development. And what's even more astonishing, many of these submerged places remain unexplored, and each new expedition could lead to incredible discoveries that could change our history. For example, the discovery of new artifacts could provide us with keys to understanding how social structures, technologies, and even languages evolved. This is not just a mystery, it is a treasure trove of knowledge waiting to be uncovered. Each new day on the ocean floor opens up the possibility of learning more about who we are and where we came from. But that's not all. Some researchers suggest that underwater finds might indicate the existence of entire civilizations that were lost forever. And what's truly intriguing is, what secrets do these submerged cities hold? Sunken city of Pavlopetri, off the coast of Greece, boasts an incredible history stretching back 5,000 years. Imagine streets paved with stones that still retain their layout, as if frozen in time. This is the first known underwater settlement discovered at a depth of around 14 meters, and it is astonishing in its architecture, houses, squares, and even water supply systems. Walls of buildings have been preserved up to a meter high, and in some places remnants of tiles adorned with geometric patterns can be seen. But that's not all. Archaeologists have found numerous artifacts, including ceramic vessels, tools, and even implements of labor, providing insight into the lives of its inhabitants. The most shocking thing? The city was not just a settlement, but a genuine trading hub with connections to other civilizations of the time, such as the Minoan civilization of Crete. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Scientists propose various theories about the causes of the city's flooding. Some suggest that powerful earthquakes could have caused the coastline to collapse, while others believe that a gradual rise in sea level may have played a key role in its disappearance. Have you ever wondered what it might have looked like? Picture the residents leaving their homes as water slowly rises, covering the streets that were once filled with life. But there's more. In Pavlopetri, traces have been found that suggest some houses were built with the possibility of flooding in mind, casting new light on the level of knowledge and technology possessed by ancient Greeks. By the way, in the 21st century, the city has become the subject of intense research using underwater archaeology. Modern technologies, such as 3D scanning, allow for the creation of detailed models of the underwater remains. And what is truly fascinating, what other secrets might be hidden beneath the waters of the Aegean Sea, waiting to be discovered? The underwater city of Yonaguni off the coast of Japan is a place that not only puzzles archaeologists but also scientists from around the world. Imagine structures that look like steps and platforms carved into the rock. At first glance, they appear to be man-made structures created by an ancient civilization. For instance, one of the most compelling arguments for this theory is the presence of straight angles and clear lines visible in underwater photographs. This raises the question, how could nature create such precise forms? Some researchers claim that the dimensions of individual blocks can reach 30 meters in length, casting doubt on the natural origin of these formations. However, there is another side to the coin. Geologists insist that the underwater structures were formed as a result of natural erosion caused by marine currents and seismic activity. For example, erosion can create angles and platforms that look man-made but are actually the result of millions of years of water and wind action. And here's where things get really intriguing. Some scientists point out that similar forms can be found in other places, such as the coast of the Bahamas, where underwater cities are also observed. But the question remains, if these are indeed man-made structures, how old are they? Estimates vary, and some suggest they could be over 8,000 years old. However, none of these assumptions are backed by concrete evidence, leaving room for debate. And what's most astonishing? At a depth of around 25 meters, archaeologists have found traces that could indicate ancient human activity, but none of these discoveries can serve as definitive proof. Research continues, and each new underwater photograph adds fuel to the fire of discussions. Geologists argue that such structures can form due to underwater landslides and tectonic processes. Ultimately, the underwater city of Yonaguni remains a mystery capable of sparking heated debates. Regardless, the research shows that the seabed of this ocean hides not only rocks but also many secrets waiting to be revealed. In the heart of the Mediterranean Sea, at a depth of over 80 meters, lies the submerged city of Heraklion, also known as Thonis. This port city was one of the most significant trade centers in ancient Egypt, and its discoveries in the early 2000s caused a sensation among archaeologists and researchers. In 2001, a team led by French underwater archaeologist Franck Goddio uncovered extensive ruins that once housed thousands of people. Imagine the city's streets paved with massive stone slabs and imposing temples where majestic statues of pharaohs and gods towered over the inhabitants. One of the most impressive finds was a 2-meter-tall statue of the god Osiris, made of black granite, which still holds ancient mysteries and legends. But that's not all. Underwater research also revealed numerous sunken ships that may have been loaded with goods, such as gold and spices, awaiting transport to other ports. Each of these ships is not just an artifact, but a story waiting to be told. However, what caused the catastrophe that destroyed this important city? There are various theories, from powerful earthquakes to climate change, that could have led to flooding. Some scientists suggest that Heraklion was gradually swept into the sea by underwater landslides until it was completely submerged. It is fascinating that the discoveries have become a treasure trove of information about the life and culture of the pharaoh's era. For example, archaeologists found tools, ceramic artifacts, and even fragments of ancient coins. These artifacts help reconstruct the picture of life in Heraklion, which was not only a trade but also a religious center. Temples dedicated to gods like Isis and Horus have preserved their magnificent columns and fragments of frescoes depicting scenes from mythology. And finally, do we know that underwater operations to study Heraklion continue to this day? Each expedition uncovers new details that could forever change our understanding of the history of this submerged city. For instance, in 2023, archaeologists discovered remnants of ancient buildings that had been completely hidden from view. Submerged ruins of Dwarka on the coast of India are astonishing for their scale and mysteries. These remnants, estimated to be around 9,000 years old, were discovered 200 meters from the modern shore and provide an extraordinary glimpse into the development of ancient civilizations. Imagine a city that was once a thriving port, with streets paved with stones and buildings constructed according to strict geometric planning. Researchers have found the remains of buildings designed to maximize the use of available resources, indicating a high level of engineering prowess. What is truly shocking is that the architectural elements of these structures closely resemble descriptions found in the ancient Indian epic Mahabharata. In this epic, Dwarka is mentioned as a magnificent city inhabited by powerful rulers and gods such as Krishna. Now, as archaeologists uncover underwater structures that match these legends, the question arises, were these myths based on real events? Remarkably, the city's layout, with its straight streets and square building blocks, adheres to principles seen in modern cities today. For instance, the streets were meticulously designed for optimal traffic flow, and the water supply system was as advanced as in some of the most sophisticated civilizations of its time. The discovery of Dwarka challenges our understanding of the chronology of urban civilization development. If these ruins indeed match the descriptions in Mahabharata, it could change our understanding of when and how complex societies began to emerge in the subcontinent. Amazingly, in some places the depth of the ruins reaches up to 30 meters, indicating significant changes in sea level over time. Investigations continue, and each new artifact adds layers to this enigmatic history. As scientists analyze the findings, it becomes clear that Dwarka may not just be a part of mythology, but a real testament to the deep history of human civilization. However, the most intriguing aspect of this story is the mysterious fate of the city itself. How did it end up underwater? Do you know that sunken ships can preserve entire epochs of history, like underwater museums, ready to reveal their secrets? These silent witnesses of the past, resting at the bottom of oceans and seas, often remain almost untouched due to unique conditions in the depths of the sea. The temperature of the water, pressure, and lack of light create ideal conditions for the preservation of wooden structures, metals, and even personal items left by sailors. For example, in the cold waters of the North Sea, sunken ships have preserved their structures, and some have even retained cargo that can tell stories about trade routes and cultural exchanges. How could such artifacts survive for centuries? The reason is that specific ecosystems exist on the ocean floor that slow down the process of decomposition. In places where oxygen is practically absent, organisms that decompose materials cannot exist. It is astonishing that some ships which have been submerged for more than 300 years look as if they were just built. Now imagine what a treasure such finds could be for archaeologists and historians. Researching sunken ships opens doors to the past, allowing us to study the technologies used in construction, as well as the daily lives of sailors. Each artifact found on the seabed can be a key to understanding historical events such as wars, trade, and the migration of peoples. What is even more astonishing? Some ships, lost in storms or as a result of battles, not only preserve material values, but also human tragedies that may never be told. Researching such places requires not only technical skill but also courage, as each dive into these watery depths can reveal new mysteries of the past. For example, in some sunken ships, not only tools and personal items are found, but also entire stories about how people survived in conditions where their lives were at risk. Remarkably, even after decades underwater, in some cases, traces of the hands of their creators can be seen on the finds, who created them with love and skill. Each such object is not just an item, but a whole world waiting to be explored. Diving into such finds, scientists open new horizons of knowledge, and perhaps one day we will learn what exactly happened to those who lived and worked on these sunken ships. At a depth of 3,800 meters beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean lies the sunken Titanic, and its condition is astonishing. The ship's hull is gradually disintegrating under the influence of salts and microorganisms that feed on metallurgy. A remarkable fact: every year the Titanic loses almost 30 centimeters of its structure, and this is due to bacteria that actively corrode iron, forming what is known as seawood. This environment is responsible for the formation of extraordinary formations resembling rusty mushrooms that abound around the ship's remains. But this is not the most peculiar thing. The discovery of the Titanic became possible thanks to Robert Ballard's expedition in 1985, when his team used submersibles to search for sunken wreckage. The discovery shocked the world. Nearly a century later, 4 kilometers off the coast of Newfoundland, lay a giant that had once been a symbol of luxury and tragedy. Since then, expeditions to the Titanic have become regular, and each one has brought new discoveries. Among the finds were personal belongings of passengers, interior items, and even entire sections of the ship that retained their original shape. What is even more shocking, despite all technological advances, the state of the Titanic continues to spark debate. Ethical questions about how to handle this maritime memorial are becoming increasingly relevant. Some argue that it should be left undisturbed to respect the dead, while others believe that studying and preserving the finds is necessary for understanding history. Each new object raised from the depths serves as a witness to that catastrophe and is connected to the stories of those who were on board. But there is another aspect that makes one think, how exactly can these findings change our perception of the Titanic tragedy? Each artifact found in the wreckage is regularly put on display, sparking heated debates about the right to memory and respect for those who did not return. Each expedition opens new horizons, and behind every investigation lies the question, should we continue to explore, or is it better to leave the memory of the tragedy in its natural state? The Titanic still keeps its secrets at the bottom of the ocean, and some of them may never be revealed. Laguna Truk, now known as Chuuk, became the site of one of the largest naval operations of World War II when, in 1944, American air forces carried out Operation Hailstone. As a result of this operation, more than 60 Japanese ships were sunk, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and cargo vessels, fundamentally altering the balance of power in the Pacific Ocean. Did you know that among the sunken ships was one of the most famous Japanese aircraft carriers, the Shokaku? Its sinking became a symbol of the collapse of Japanese naval power. On that day, pilots dropped tens of tons of bombs, and within a few hours, the lagoon turned into an underwater cemetery, witnessing a historic tragedy. The current state of this underwater museum is impressive. Corals entwine the hulls of the ships, creating extraordinary underwater landscapes, and many of them still retain their details, such as guns and even aviation bombs. This makes the Truk Lagoon not only a repository of military history, but also a popular destination for divers from around the world. Diving here is not just a descent, it's a journey into the past, where one can see how nature gradually absorbs human creations. Some of the sunken ships lie at depths of up to 30 meters, with sizes ranging from small submarines to massive transport vessels hundreds of meters long. One of the most popular dive sites is the destroyer Mitsud, which has retained its shape and even some internal rooms where divers can explore the equipment and artifacts left from that time. What is even more captivating is that this underwater graveyard serves not only as a historical monument, but also as a vital ecosystem where various marine species, including exotic fish and rare corals, inhabit. 80% of the sunken ships are still accessible for research and diving, attracting both professionals and enthusiasts of the underwater world. Did you know that this place has become a true open-air museum where every diver can leave their mark in history by touching objects that remember the era of war? Diving in the Truk Lagoon leaves unforgettable impressions and opens one's eyes to the grandeur of the past, which still keeps its secrets on the ocean floor. The ship, Vasa, is not just a sunken vessel, but a true legend that embodies the grandeur of the Swedish fleet of the 17th century. At its launch, it rose to a height of 30 meters, a source of pride for the kingdom. However, during its maiden and final voyage in 1628, Vasa was unable to withstand the strong winds and capsized just a few hundred meters from the shore of Stockholm. On board were approximately 300 people, of whom only 30 managed to survive. So why did Vasa remain intact on the bottom of the Baltic Sea for so long? The water in this region is very cold and contains fewer salts, which slows down the decomposition process. These conditions proved ideal for the preservation of the wood and other materials used to build the ship over more than 300 years. It was not until 1961 that the complex process of raising Vasa from the seabed began. Engineers and archaeologists used special underwater cranes and ballast systems to carefully lift the ship, preserving its integrity. As a result, Vasa was brought to the surface at a depth of 30 meters, marking a significant event in the world of archaeology. However, this was just the beginning of its new life. Immediately after the raising, intensive conservation efforts were initiated, requiring a significant amount of time and effort. To prevent the destruction of the wood, a special injection process was employed. Special polymer was injected into the voids of the ship, filling the pores and protecting against further decomposition. This process took nearly 30 years. The restoration not only allowed the preservation of Vasa, but also created a unique museum where visitors can not only see but almost touch history. Since then, the ship has become one of the most visited museums in the world, attracting more than 1 million tourists annually. Vasa is not just a ship, but a testament to the courage and ambition of the Swedish people, and an example of how modern technologies can help preserve historical artifacts for future generations. What is most astonishing is that many of the original items found on board, including weapons, dishes, and even personal belongings of the sailors, remain in pristine condition, providing a unique insight into life on board in the 17th century. At the bottom of the sea, at a depth of around 42 meters, in the year 1901, divers discovered one of the most mysterious ancient shipwrecks, the Antikythera ship. This vessel, which sank in the 1st century BC, became a true treasure trove for archaeologists and historians, as it contained more than 200 artifacts that continue to amaze scientists. Imagine this. Among the rusty wreckage lay bronze statues weighing up to 300 kilograms, which once adorned temples and public squares. Alongside the statues, divers found gold and silver coins with a total weight exceeding 30 kilograms, as well as ceramic pottery decorated with vibrant patterns, demonstrating the high level of craftsmanship of ancient Greek potters. But that's not all. Inside the cargo, the Antikythera mechanism was discovered, the oldest known analog computer, which astounded scientists with its complexity and precision. This mechanism, consisting of a complex system of gears and wheels, was used for calculating astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses. Scientists believe that its creation could be linked to advanced knowledge in mechanics and astronomy that were available to the Greeks more than 2,000 years ago. This discovery fundamentally changed our understanding of the technological capabilities of the ancient world. It turns out that the ancient Greeks could create devices that were as complex as many inventions of the Renaissance. How could such technologies be forgotten for centuries? Research indicates that the Antikythera mechanism could have been created as a result of centuries of achievements in astronomy and mathematics. Scientists are still trying to decipher its secrets, and new technologies such as X-ray fluorescence are helping to reveal the details of its construction. This mechanism, consisting of more than 30 gears, encodes knowledge that was not accessible to most people of that time. These discoveries challenge traditional views on how technology developed in antiquity and raised numerous questions about what other treasures might be hidden at the bottom of the seas. Have you ever heard of ghost ships that suddenly appear on the horizon as if emerging from the mist? These mythical vessels, sailing without a crew, are shrouded in mystery and instill fear in the hearts of sailors. Legends about such ships exist in cultures around the world and are often seen as harbingers of disasters or misfortunes. Do you know that in some maritime folklore, it is claimed that these ghostly ships are connected to the souls of drowned sailors who have not found peace? Examples include ships that appear during storms as if defying the elements, or those that sink with invisible sailors on board. But what makes sailors believe these stories? Psychological factors play a significant role here. In the isolation and constant stress of open sea life, the human mind tends to create images that can help explain the inexplicable. These are not just myths. They reflect human fears and hopes, which become particularly acute in times of danger. It is interesting that according to research in maritime psychology, about 7 out of 10 sailors report strange sensations or visions during long voyages. And things get even more bizarre. Some claim to hear calling voices from the void, which makes them wonder who or what might be on board these mysterious ships. Ghost ships are not just a part of folklore. they serve as symbols of human fears of the unknown and the unexplored. In various cultures, from Scandinavian to Pacific, stories about such ships serve as reminders that the sea is not only a source of life, but also a source of danger that can swallow people in its depths. Over the centuries, sailors have created images of ghostly ships to explain sudden disappearances of their comrades or mysterious events on board. For example, in the 18th century, one of the most famous stories about a ghost ship describes how it appeared on the horizon, its sails billowing in the wind, but with no crew visible. A ship that leaves no trace becomes a metaphor for those lost in the vast waters and provokes deep reflections on life and death. What is even more shocking, some researchers suggest that such stories could have arisen from optical illusions, when sailors see reflections in water or mirages, thus creating their own legends about ghost ships that continue to live in people's minds even today. The Flying Dutchman, as an archetypal ghost ship, appeared in the 17th century when sailors began telling stories of uninhabited vessels that endlessly wandered the oceans. One of the most famous versions of this legend is connected to Captain Ferdinand van der Decken, who, according to the myth, tried to pass the Cape of Good Hope during a storm and, disobeying the commands of heaven, was cursed to eternal sailing. Have you heard that his ship was doomed to endless wandering, never reaching the desired harbour? For centuries, sailors reported encounters with this ghostly ship, describing how its masts suddenly emerged from nowhere and a sinister light pierced the darkness. These tales always bore the mark of fear and awe, making them particularly captivating for listeners. But that's not all. Many sailors claim to have seen the Flying Dutchman in stormy conditions, with its sails billowing like a phantom under the light of the moon. In literature, the image of the Flying Dutchman became a symbol not only of a curse, but also of despair, reflecting human fears and aspirations. The 18th century gave the world the opera The Flying Dutchman by Richard Wagner, where the story of the captain and his eternal voyage received a new interpretation, becoming a classic of musical art. And in cinema, the image of the Flying Dutchman inspired many directors. Since the beginning of the 20th century, this myth has repeatedly served as the basis for films and animation, including the famous franchise Pirates of the Caribbean, where the ship became an integral part of the plot. But do you know that some researchers claim that the Flying Dutchman could have been based on real events, when real ships were lost in storms and their crews disappeared without a trace? And what is most remarkable, in the 20th century, in 1930, two groups of sailors from different countries simultaneously reported sightings of the Flying Dutchman in the southern part of the Atlantic, and this event became a real worldwide phenomenon. The myth of the Flying Dutchman continues to inspire artists and writers, giving rise to new interpretations and adaptations in culture, and its story lives in the hearts of people who continue to seek the mystery of eternal sailing. In November 1872, a ship named Maria Celeste was discovered in the Atlantic Ocean, becoming a mystery to sailors and researchers alike. When the ship was found without a crew, it was in perfect condition. The sails were taut, and the ship was moving with the wind. What was shocking was that there was a table set for a meal with remnants of food and an open bottle of wine, as if the crew had simply vanished while they were about to eat. But that was not all. The lifeboat meant for lowering into the water was missing, raising more questions than answers. How could this have happened? The condition of Maria Celeste at the time of discovery provided many clues. There were no signs of struggle, and the crew's personal belongings were untouched. Soon, theories began to emerge about what might have happened to the crew, with one of the most popular being that they had been victims of pirates, but no evidence was found to support this version. Some researchers proposed that the crew might have been poisoned by alcohol fumes from the barrels of spirits on board, as Maria Celeste was carrying over 150 barrels of spirits, and high concentrations of fumes could have caused panic or loss of consciousness. Other theories included meteorological anomalies. A possible hurricane could have forced the crew to abandon the ship in a hurry, but there were no records of a storm that day. It is remarkable that Captain Benjamin Briggs did not issue any warnings about a storm, and the weather conditions were calm. Regardless, the most puzzling aspect was that all personal belongings, including money and valuable items, were found on board, indicating that the crew did not plan to leave the ship. Over time, new speculations emerged. Some suggested that the crew members might have been abducted by sea monsters, while others proposed that they had fled to an uninhabited island to start a new life. But the most intriguing fact is that Maria Celeste remains an unsolved mystery to this day, and each new look at this story reveals new details that could change our understanding of what happened on board this enigmatic ship. For instance, did you know that in 1883 an attempt was made to join Maria Celeste, but she disappeared again without waiting for her new crew? The schooner Carroll A. Daring became a true mystery for sailors and researchers after its discovery off the coast of North Carolina in 1921, when it was found completely abandoned. The last known contact with the ship occurred in early January of that year, when its captain, Edward S. Daring, sent a radiogram reporting bad weather and the need for assistance. However, communication was soon lost and no members of the crew remained on board. Upon investigation by American authorities, it was discovered that the ship was in very poor condition, its sails were damaged, and numerous personal items, such as clothing and dishes, were found on deck. Most shockingly, there was no one on board, and the scene suggested that the crew had left the ship in a hurry. A comprehensive investigation conducted by the U.S. government explored all possible scenarios, from mutiny and piracy to mysterious connections with the Bermuda Triangle. One of the most popular theories was that the crew had been victims of pirates, but no signs of struggle or attack were found. Researchers also considered the possibility that the crew had fled, frightened by a storm or collision with underwater rocks, but the absence of bodies or even clues only added to the mystery. If you thought that was all, it becomes even more intriguing. Some researchers linked the disappearance of the Carroll A. Daring to mysterious phenomena associated with the Bermuda Triangle, claiming that the ship could have disappeared in a space-time rift. Rumors began to circulate that the ship had been taken by otherworldly forces, and some even claimed to have seen its ghost in the waters off North Carolina. It is interesting to note that the schooner was examined by many specialists, including maritime historians and astronomers, who tried to unravel its mystery. However, the most chilling discovery was that several months after the disappearance of the Carroll A. Daring, it was spotted in other places, but without a crew and without explanation. How could this have happened? In the 27th year of the 21st century, a yacht named Scottsville was discovered drifting off the coast of Australia without a crew. This yacht, the size of a modern catamaran, was spotted adrift at a distance of 150 kilometers from shore. Remarkably, there were no signs of people on board, only remnants of personal belongings and evidence suggesting that the vessel had been abandoned hastily. But this was not the most peculiar aspect. Some witnesses claimed to have seen the yacht surrounded by an eerie light, which gave rise to numerous mystical theories about ghost ships and lost souls. However, it turned out that behind this mystery lay rational explanations. It was likely that the crew had encountered a storm, and in the face of strong winds, they were unable to control the vessel and had to abandon it on lifeboats. Now imagine that in Japan, too, there are regular sightings of North Korean ghost ships washing up on shore. In recent years, more than 20 such incidents have been recorded, each causing no less surprise. These vessels, often in poor condition, were found with empty cargo holds and signs indicating that they had been adrift for a long time before reaching Japanese shores. How did they get there? Researchers suggest that these sightings are the result of unfavorable sea conditions that cause ships to deviate from their courses, as well as possible crew issues such as food shortages or technical malfunctions. But what is even more astonishing? Many of these ghost ships were equipped with modern equipment, including GPS, which casts doubt on the possibility of their accidental drift. For instance, in 2017, a North Korean fishing trawler was found that, according to reports, had a navigation system but was still abandoned. While some interpret this as a sign of crew dissatisfaction with the regime, others find more mundane explanations, possible encounters with patrols or even issues with the local population. These cases highlight the contrast between mystical interpretations and rational explanations. Against the backdrop of tales of ghost ships and lost souls, facts show that many of these disappearances and appearances can be explained by mundane causes. For example, in 2020, another North Korean vessel was found in Japanese waters with documents indicating that the crew had to abandon the ship due to technical malfunctions. As a result, despite all the myths and stories, the real causes of these incidents often turn out to be quite mundane. And what is most remarkable, there are even theories that some of these ghostly ships might be used for smuggling or other illegal activities, adding another layer of intrigue to this mysterious maritime world. The vast expanses of oceans and seas have always drawn humanity, and it is within these depths that the most terrifying and mysterious images of sea monsters were born. Imagine a depth where light never penetrates, and where creatures dwell that we can only guess at. Frightening tales of sea creatures have permeated the culture of peoples around the world, from ancient myths to modern theories of cryptozoology. It turns out that more than 75% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, and it is this boundless space that has been the source of fears and fantasies that have fueled human imagination for millennia. Do you know that many famous myths about sea monsters originated from observations of real but unexplained creatures? This explains why people imagined them to be much more terrifying than they actually are. These images were formed based on real encounters with creatures such as giant squids, which can reach lengths of up to 14 meters and even more. But this is not the strangest thing. During sea voyages, sailors often encountered marine reptiles that left trails up to 30 meters long. This created incredible stories about monsters that dwell in the depths, and these stories were passed down from generation to generation. Now imagine that some of these marine myths could be based on real animals that may have gone extinct or changed in the process of evolution. How is this possible? The reason is that oceans hide countless secrets, and even today, scientists have not explored even 10% of their waters. In this vast underwater world, organisms can appear as real monsters. For example, some deep-sea fish have such unusual shapes and sizes that they could easily be mistaken for mythical creatures. And this is where things get truly bizarre. Who knows what other secrets the dark depths hide? Scientific research shows that new species are discovered every year, which could serve as the basis for new legends. One such example is the discovery of strange creatures with bioluminescent properties at a depth of 12,000 meters, which glow in the dark like ghosts. But do you know that among scientists there is a belief that some of the sea monsters described in myths might not be mere fabrications? In recent decades, observations of anomalous phenomena in the oceans have sparked interest in possible creatures that could be hidden from human eyes. And what is even more shocking, some researchers claim that even today, species could be discovered that are still unknown to science and were forgotten in myths, but their time may come again. Kraken is not just a mythical sea monster, but an entire archetype that has been etched into the human consciousness for centuries. Imagine this. In Scandinavian legends, a gigantic squid is described as capable of dragging ships to the bottom of the ocean, leaving only splashes of water and the cries of sailors. These myths emerged from observations of giant squids that actually inhabit the deep seas. But what is even more intriguing? The 18th century marked the era when Kraken began to transform into a scientific object. scientists like the Norwegian naturalist Carl Linnaeus started classifying marine creatures, and it was then that the image of Kraken became associated with a giant squid whose length can exceed 12 meters. This new perspective on the mythical beast opened the door to the study of real marine wonders, but it did not diminish the enchantment of the legend. In literature, Kraken became a symbol of unexplored depths, as demonstrated by Jules Verne in his work 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Here, he describes a battle between Captain Nemo and a giant squid which became not just an enemy, but a personification of all maritime fears. In this context, Kraken transformed into a metaphor for humanity's struggle with nature, representing that which we cannot control, but that is not all. In the 20th century, Kraken regained popularity, becoming the hero of numerous films and video games. Recall, for instance, Pirates of the Caribbean, where Kraken appears as a destructive force, emphasizing the dangers of maritime travel. Each new generation creates its own versions of this monster, adding new features and qualities. But did you know that even in scientific circles, Kraken has not left anyone indifferent? In 2009, oceanographers discovered evidence of the existence of giant squids that can reach 30 meters in length, making them capable of such feats as the legendary Kraken. These discoveries fuel interest in the myth, making us ponder, what if there are indeed creatures hidden in the depths of the ocean that we have not yet encountered? Kraken does not only continue to live in myths and art, but also remains a symbol of our desire for discovery and our quest to unravel the mysteries of the deep sea. Loch Ness Monster, or simply Nessie, has become one of the most famous cryptids of modern times and a symbol of the mysteries of Scottish lakes. The first reports of strange creatures in the waters of Loch Ness appeared in the 6th century, when a monk of St. Columba described an encounter with a large creature that tried to attack his companion. However, the real sensation occurred in 1933 when the famous Surgeon's photograph was published, supposedly capturing this mythical creature. The photograph shows a long neck and head emerging from the water, which caused a sensation among the public. Many still debate the authenticity of this photograph, believing it could have been faked, but the fact of its existence sparked numerous subsequent investigations. After this, real hunts for Nessie began, attracting the attention of scientists from around the world. Expeditions using sonar and underwater cameras explored the depths of the lake, but despite all efforts, no evidence of the creature's existence was found. In 1993, a group of scientists from Oxford conducted a large-scale investigation using modern technologies to determine if there was anything in the lake that could explain the numerous sightings. Additionally, some researchers proposed theories that witnesses might have seen giant eels or even... In the 18th and 19th centuries, sailors repeatedly reported encounters with mysterious sea serpents that inspired myths and legends. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1848 when Captain Sir Edward Bennett of HMS Daedalus observed an unusual creature in the Caribbean Sea. He described it as a long, serpent-like creature moving with great grace, its body exceeding 30 meters in length. The creature had large fins and a head resembling that of a lizard. His report became the basis for numerous studies and discussions. However, this was not the only case. In 1830, the crew of the American ship Sally described a similar encounter, claiming that the creature surfaced and made sounds like a roar. Seafarers recorded long, slippery bodies and sharp, knife-like backs, adding intrigue to these observations. Some researchers, analyzing such reports, suggested that sailors might have seen rare fish species such as marine iguanas or even giant squids, which could have been the source of their fears and fantasies. For example, renowned oceanographer Dr. Kenneth Krapp hypothesized that optical illusions and sea conditions could create mirages perceived as sea serpents. But how could sailors so confidently describe these creatures? Many of the records mention poor visibility conditions, making these accounts even more mysterious. Many of the records contain detailed descriptions that at first glance are difficult to explain given their location and time of year. But wait, there's more. In 1865, in the vicinity of Tasmania Island, a crew discovered a long serpent-like creature that, according to witnesses, left traces in the water as if something was trailing behind it. Can you imagine how such stories could stir sailors, instilling fear in captains and inspiring writers to create new myths? One of the most interesting aspects of these observations is that many of them coincide in their descriptions despite different regions and eras, raising the question, could sailors have witnessed something that remains a mystery to science? One such mystery is connected to so-called serpent-like sharks, which can reach 8 meters in length and may have been the prototypes of sea serpent legends. Scientific research shows that oceans are home to many undiscovered species, and each new discovery adds a grain of truth to ancient tales of sea serpents. Imagine in the 20th century, when everyone thought that evolution had determined the course of marine life, scientists discovered a fish that was believed to have disappeared more than 65 million years ago. In 1938, off the coast of South Africa, fishermen hauled up a coelacanth, a fish that retained the features of its ancestors who lived in the age of dinosaurs. This discovery shocked the scientific community. The coelacanth, with its distinctive body shape and bones resembling limbs, became a living fossil, challenging everything we knew about marine evolution. Before this discovery, it was believed that the last representatives of coelacanths had gone extinct around 70 million years ago, along with the dinosaurs. Soon after this discovery, scientists from various countries began studying the coelacanth, its anatomy and behavior, and the results of their research were astonishing. This fish can reach lengths of up to 2 meters, and its fins have a structure similar to the limbs of terrestrial vertebrates, giving us an idea of how life might have evolved from an aquatic environment to land. But that's not the most unusual thing. Coelacanths possess a unique ability to breathe both air and oxygen dissolved in water, making them even more mysterious. Moreover, their bodies contain fat reserves that allow them to swim at great depths, where the pressure can be compared to the pressure at the bottom of the ocean, around 7 tons per square meter. This discovery not only confirmed that some species can remain unchanged over millions of years, but also made scientists ponder other deep-sea inhabitants that might have slipped through the net of attention. Can you imagine how many unknown creatures are hidden in the dark waters of the ocean? Researchers continue to search for evidence of the existence of other living fossils, and each new fact opens up new horizons for study. It's important to remember that the depths of the oceans are still full of mysteries, and each expedition can bring astonishing discoveries that change our understanding of nature. And do you know what's most amazing? Scientific research shows that such discoveries as the coelacanth may be just the tip of the iceberg. The sounds of the ocean are not just the noise of water, they are a true symphony composed of numerous unique melodies that are born in the depths and on the surface. Imagine this: waves crash onto the shore, creating rhythmic beats like a giant drum, while in the distance the cries of whales can be heard, reaching up to 500 kilometers away. These giants, with lengths of up to 30 meters, communicate with each other using low-frequency sounds that penetrate the water like invisible waves. But this is not all. The ocean also resounds with mysterious sounds recorded by hydrophones, which sometimes leave scientists baffled. Do you know what is most astonishing? Some of these sounds remain unexplained, and their sources are still unknown. For instance, in 2006, researchers recorded a mysterious sound known as the bloop, which echoed from a depth of over 2,000 meters. This sound was so powerful that it was detected 1,000 kilometers away from its source. How is this possible? The ocean, with its vast expanse, acts like a giant resonating instrument capable of transmitting sound waves over incredible distances. And in some ocean regions, especially near underwater volcanoes, sound can travel faster than in normal water due to increased temperature and pressure. In this underwater realm where silence and darkness reign, sounds become means of communication, signals of danger, and sometimes just part of nature. Each drop of water carries stories, from the melodies created by marine creatures to the echolocation used by dolphins for finding food. But this is not the most peculiar thing. The ocean contains sounds that could tell us about its past, about ancient epochs when there was no humanity, and nature itself was music. The ocean is a living organism that breathes, makes noise, and sometimes whispers its secrets to those who are willing to listen. And what is even more astonishing, around us, right beneath the water, there are sounds that can reveal the secrets of entire ecosystems. The bloop? It's not just a sound phenomenon, it's a real mystery, recorded in 1997 in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean. Imagine a sound with a frequency of just 0.2 of a hertz. That's 1,000 times lower than what the human ear can hear. The low frequency of this sound creates a sensation of extraordinary pressure, as if you were at the bottom of the ocean where every movement of water generates powerful waves. The amplitude of the sound reached a level comparable to the loudest sounds ever recorded on Earth, making it one of the most powerful sounds ever registered by scientists. At the time of its discovery, it was recorded on hydrophones, which are highly sensitive underwater microphones used for tracking marine life and studying ocean phenomena. But where did this sound come from? One popular theory suggests that it could be the call of an unknown whale species using such low frequencies for communication over long distances. Some scientists propose that it might be the result of an underwater volcanic eruption that could have created powerful sound waves capable of traveling vast distances. The bloop was detected more than 3,000 kilometers away from the presumed source, highlighting its incredible power and range. But that's not all. There are other theories linking this phenomenon to the movement of tectonic plates, which could generate such sounds. And here's where it gets really intriguing. Imagine that this sound could have been caused not only by animals or volcanoes, but by completely unknown processes in the depths of the ocean. Researchers continue to study this phenomenon, and although more than 25 years have passed since its discovery, we still cannot definitively say what caused it. One of the latest hypotheses even ties the sound to a type of underwater ecosystem that we have not yet explored. The bloop has become a true mystery for scientists and ocean enthusiasts, and their desire to unravel its nature only grows stronger. At a time when we think we know everything about the world around us, such phenomena make us wonder what else is hidden beneath the surface of the oceans. The sound known as Julia's whistle was recorded by hydrophones in the Pacific Ocean in 1999 and has since become a mystery for scientists. This sound differs from familiar biological sources such as whale songs or dolphin clicks due to its unique acoustic characteristics. It has a frequency of around 32 Hz and lasts from several seconds to several minutes. Scientists note that such sounds are usually associated with specific animal activities, but Julia's whistle defies this explanation. Its periodic nature is astonishing. It appears and disappears at unpredictable intervals, making it unique in the acoustic world of the ocean. Research shows that the sound lacks a clear repeating structure, as seen in many biological sounds. This has led to numerous hypotheses about its origin. Some scientists suggest that Julia's whistle could be caused by underwater volcanoes that generate unusual sound waves during explosive gas and steam eruptions. Meanwhile, other researchers link this phenomenon to the movement of glaciers or even to the activity of underwater earthquakes. However, the most intriguing theory proposes that this sound may be a result of the interaction between ocean currents and deep water layers, creating resonances that we do not yet fully understand. The scientific community continues to study this phenomenon, analyzing its sound and comparing it with other acoustic events recorded in various parts of the ocean. And here's the most shocking part. Julia's whistle has been recorded in different places in the Pacific Ocean, which raises questions about its local origin and makes one wonder what else might be hidden in the depths of the ocean. The sound known as the uplift signal was recorded in the Indian Ocean in 1997, and its characteristics stunned researchers. This mysterious sound began with a low frequency and rapidly increased, reaching extraordinary values from 1 to 8 Hz in just a few seconds. The sound lasted from 20 to 40 seconds, making it one of the longest underwater sounds ever recorded. The geographical origin of the signal remains a subject of debate. It was detected in an area known for its seismic activity, leading to speculations about possible connections to earthquakes or underwater volcanoes. However, this is not all. Some researchers propose that the signal's source could be biological. They suggest that it might have been produced by large marine creatures living at great depths, such as giant squids or even unknown whale species. What is truly intriguing is that the frequency of the signal resembled the sounds made by some marine mammals, opening new avenues for the study of the underwater world. It is important to note that researchers do not have concrete evidence to support this biological theory. Nevertheless, this does not deter them from continuing their research. With each passing year, new technologies emerge that can analyze underwater sounds with unprecedented accuracy. For instance, in 2018, scientists used hydrophones capable of detecting sounds at depths of up to 3,000 meters, opening new possibilities for investigating the ocean's mysteries. But imagine the researchers' reaction when they realized that the uplift signal could be linked to something completely unexpected, such as underwater volcanoes that emit gases and create unique sound waves. And here is where things become even more fascinating. In this region, volcanic activity is indeed intense, and the sound waves from these processes can generate unusual acoustic phenomena that captivate scientists. The most astonishing part: this enigma remains unsolved, and many researchers continue to work on uncovering what lies in the depths of the ocean and how it might influence our understanding of life in the marine abyss. Humpback whales are remarkably skilled in bioacoustic communication, and their songs are not just sounds, but complex musical compositions that can last up to 30 minutes. What's most astonishing is that these melodies consist of numerous different notes and repeating phrases that create entire musical cycles. Each year, scientists record changes in these melodies, and it turns out that humpback whales develop their songs in the same way musicians change styles to adapt to new trends. In some regions, one can hear completely different dialects that whales use depending on their habitat. For instance, whales living on the eastern coast of the United States sing differently than their counterparts in the Pacific Ocean. But that's not all. Melodies evolve not only within individual populations but also between them, indicating the presence of cultural transmission. For example, if one whale in a group starts singing a new melody, others may pick it up, and soon it becomes popular among the entire population. The sounds produced by a humpback whale can travel underwater for up to 30 kilometers. This means that one whale can attract partners or communicate with others over long distances using only its vocal apparatus. What's even more shocking? Scientists suggest that these vocalizations may serve multiple functions, from attracting females during mating rituals to exchanging information about food sources or threats. Furthermore, each song can contain information about the health and age of the whale, allowing other individuals to assess a potential partner. Imagine that humpback whales can not only find each other in the vast expanses of the ocean, but also transmit entire stories, creating a unique acoustic culture. Scientific research shows that these marine mammals have a kind of musical memory, enabling them to remember and reproduce complex melodies even after years. Scientists continue to study how whales learn to sing, and this could open new horizons in understanding their social structure. And here, among the ocean depths, lie secrets that could change our understanding of communication, not only in the animal world, but also of the very nature of sound itself. Imagine that in the depths of the ocean there are anomalies that challenge everything we know about science. Modern equipment records inexplicable phenomena that sometimes seem to come straight out of a science fiction film. For instance, using deep-sea bathyscaphs, researchers have discovered sound signals that defy explanation. Their source remains unknown, and their frequency exceeds all conceivable limits. These signals, recorded at depths exceeding 10,000 meters, have characteristics that lead scientists to question whether they are evidence of unknown life. But that's not all. Imagine that in the dark waters there exists a density of matter that exceeds normal levels, causing anomalous changes in the behavior of some marine creatures. Scientists note that at such depths, even light waves behave differently, as if they enter another reality. Sometimes researchers encounter temperature anomalies that fluctuate by several degrees in a short period, raising questions about how heat spreads in such conditions. But these are not the only mysteries. On the ocean floor, structures resembling artificial objects are observed, which cannot be explained by any known theories. These formations move, change shape, and sometimes even emit sounds that baffle all who observe them. The question arises, how is this possible? Could this be a sign that we are not alone in this world? Does the ocean harbor secrets waiting to be revealed? Scientists are working on developing more powerful hydrophones to study these mysterious sounds, but results remain unclear. Each new observation adds more questions and fuels interest in what lies beyond the horizon of our understanding. Despite the use of the most advanced technologies, researchers face barriers that make them question the very existence of these phenomena. And what is remarkable, in some cases such anomalies manifest as glowing points on screens, evoking associations with extraterrestrial technologies or even fluctuations in the temporal continuum. With each new discovery, we get closer to understanding what our ocean may be hiding. Perhaps this is just the beginning of an amazing journey that will lead us to the solution of the mysteries hidden at the bottom. The object known as the Baltic Anomaly was discovered on the bottom of the Baltic Sea in 2011 and immediately attracted the attention of researchers and scientists worldwide due to its unusual appearance, reminiscent of the Death Star from the iconic saga Star Wars. This circular object has a diameter of about 100 meters and appears to have been created by human hands rather than nature. But that's not all. Strange traces have been found around it, leading to the anomaly and raising even more questions. These traces resemble deep trenches stretching across the ocean floor, giving the impression that something of enormous size could have moved through this area, leaving behind tracks. Have you ever wondered how this could be possible on the ocean floor? Researchers have encountered another mystery. Near the Baltic Anomaly, electrical equipment behaves strangely, indicating the presence of a magnetic field that can disrupt the operation of devices. For example, deep-sea vehicles approaching the object begin to deviate from their course or lose contact, fueling even more debates among scientists. Some argue that this is evidence of a natural origin, possibly due to underwater volcanoes or geological formations, but proponents of theories about extraterrestrial origins are not convinced. They point to the geometric shapes and symmetry of the object, which cannot be random in nature. And here's where things get really interesting. Opinions are divided into two camps, and each is ready to present its arguments. Supporters of the natural origin theory claim that the anomaly is merely a rock formation created by natural processes, but opponents of this version cite detailed research and photographs showing indentations and recesses that seem too precise for a natural object. But wait, there's more. There are many myths and theories surrounding the Baltic Anomaly. Some even suggest that it could be the remains of an ancient ship or even an underwater alien base. The question of what is really hidden on the bottom of the Baltic Sea remains open, and each new investigation only fuels interest in this mysterious object. Did you know that within a radius of 100 meters from the anomaly, the water temperature changes sharply? Are there secrets hidden in this anomaly that are yet to be revealed? The Cuban underwater pyramid, discovered off the coast of Cuba in 2001, is one of the most mysterious structures on the planet. Imagine, deep in the ocean at a depth of around 700 meters, there are geometrically precise forms that resemble urban planning. These structures have clear lines and angles that cannot be the result of natural processes. The width of the main forms is comparable to that of a modern building, which raises many questions about who and when could have created such structures. If we assume these structures are artificial, their age could be counted in thousands of years, but which civilizations could have been capable of such underwater construction? The difficulties in researching the Cuban underwater pyramid are exacerbated by the political situation in the region. Additionally, access to this area is limited, and many researchers face challenges in obtaining permits for scientific expeditions. As a result, many aspects of the pyramid remain unexplained, and scientists continue to debate its nature. It could be the remnants of a long-lost civilization or simply natural formations that just look like ruins. But that's not all. It is known that in this area anomalies are observed, including changes in the magnetic field, which adds even more mystery to the already enigmatic structure. Around the pyramid, there are disputes about whether there is a connection between these anomalies and the structure itself. Some researchers suggest that these structures could be part of an ancient communication network, while others insist that they are simply the result of natural geological processes. But here's what's most shocking. One of the first images obtained using deep-sea sonar shows that the pyramid has dimensions comparable to the Pyramid of Giza, but underwater. Japanese underwater monuments off the island of Yonaguni are astonishing in their mystery and contrast with the surrounding nature. These structures, consisting of sharp angles and stepped forms, give the impression that they were created by human hands. Imagine platforms laid out with such skill that some researchers claim they are remnants of an ancient civilization that existed around 10 to 12,000 years ago. But here's the most intriguing part. Geologists insist that these stone formations are merely the result of natural sandstone erosion over thousands of years. The straight angles and clear lines visible on these monuments challenge this argument. How could sandstone form such precise geometric shapes without human intervention? Some of these columns reach heights of up to 10 meters and give the impression that large buildings once stood here. Archaeologists note that the form and arrangement of these structures resemble architectural elements found in other ancient civilizations, such as Mesopotamia or Egypt. There are even researchers who claim to see signs of carving and other skilled workmanship in the underwater remains, which clearly could not have been done by nature. Now imagine if these monuments were indeed part of a vast city submerged millions of years ago. How could that have happened? It's worth noting that the island of Yonaguni is located in an area with numerous tectonic changes, which may also explain some of the structural features. But there are many questions. Why do the stones fit so perfectly with the structures we see on land? In this context, many proponents of the ancient civilization theory point to parallels with other submerged cities, such as the legendary Atlantis. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Some research suggests that the age of the monuments coincides with the period when the first complex societies began to form on Earth. In the course of studying the underwater monuments, traces of possible roads and platforms were also discovered, which, according to archaeologists, could have been used for ritual actions or public gatherings. They argue that if a civilization did exist in this place, it might have had customs and religious practices similar to those known from the history of other peoples. But what's even more shocking, at a depth of around 25 meters, artifacts were found that may indicate that people lived here much earlier than we thought. This discovery makes us wonder how many more secrets are hidden beneath the water and what other mysteries this region may hold. Imagine a land that once connected Britain to the continental Europe. This was Doggerland, a Mesolithic territory submerged beneath the waves, existing until 6,500 years ago. What is most astonishing is that under the North Sea, archaeologists find tools that indicate life thrived here. For instance, in fishing nets, remains of animals like mammoths and deer were found, suggesting these places were teeming with wildlife. Paleobotanical research shows the landscape was not just a plain, but diverse ecosystems with forests, marshes, and rivers where people hunted and gathered plants. But that's not all. Geology reveals that the climate was significantly warmer than today, and the sea level was 30 meters lower, allowing people to freely traverse this land bridge. The restoration of Doggerland's climate and landscape became possible through the analysis of sediments and fossil remains, enabling scientists to reconstruct the picture of life in this paradise. However, with the rising sea levels due to the melting of ice, this land gradually disappeared beneath the waves. Each year, the sea level rose by centimeters, and eventually, after several thousand years, Doggerland became completely submerged. What is even more shocking? The underwater artifacts discovered show that people continued to return to these places even after they were submerged, leaving traces of their existence on the ocean floor. Oceanic trenches and abysses are true enigmas that lie hidden on the ocean floor, inspiring both scientific curiosity and mystical awe. Imagine a structure that plunges abruptly into the infinite depths, forming a chasm that can reach several kilometers. One of them can be deeper than the highest mountains on land, which means it could accommodate entire cities if they existed in such a form. Scientists suggest that these formations are the result of complex geological processes, underwater earthquakes, movement of tectonic plates, and even interaction with underwater volcanoes may play a crucial role in their formation. But what is even more astonishing? Some of these trenches possess such power that they can create their own current systems, capable of carrying ships tens of kilometers off course. Imagine being on a ship and suddenly feeling it being tugged by an invisible force. Scientific expeditions exploring these trenches often find unique ecosystems within them, where organisms capable of surviving in conditions lethal to most life forms thrive. In such places where light never penetrates, bioluminescent creatures flourish, glowing like stars in the night sky. These unusual inhabitants, such as deep-sea fish and giant mollusks, become living enigmas, and their study can open new horizons for science. Now consider this. What else lies hidden in these dark depths, waiting to be discovered? Some researchers even propose that oceanic trenches could be places where unusual phenomena occur, such as energy surges or unexplained sounds that are occasionally detected by underwater equipment. These sounds, like whispers from ancient beings, evoke both curiosity and fear. And here is where it gets truly mind-boggling. Some trenches form their own black holes in the ocean, places where the gravitational pull is so strong that anything that enters may never escape. Do you think there are other worlds hidden behind these veils of darkness? Scientists continue to investigate these mysterious formations, and each new discovery raises more questions than it answers. For instance, the depth of one such trench can reach more than 11 kilometers. This is deeper than the height of the highest mountain on the planet. If you have ever wondered what lies at the bottom of the ocean, imagine how many more secrets are waiting to be revealed, and what other astonishing facts might be connected to these mysterious depths. On the coast of Belize lies one of the most mysterious and beautiful natural formations, the Great Blue Hole, with a diameter of 388 meters and a depth of 124 meters. This flooded sinkhole formed as a result of the collapse of a limestone cave, which occurred more than 10,000 years ago when sea levels rose significantly. Imagine, once there was a cave, and now it is a deep blue lake surrounded by the vibrant turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea. What makes this sinkhole truly unique is its dark blue hue, which starkly contrasts with the surrounding waters. The bottom of the Great Blue Hole is covered in coral reefs, and its waters are home to a variety of inhabitants, such as sharks, rays, and even rare sea turtles. The layers of water in this sinkhole have different oxygen content, creating a unique stratification where certain types of animals live in the upper layers while others inhabit the depths. For example, tropical fish like parrotfish and butterfly fish can be found in the upper layers, while larger predators live deeper down. What is even more astonishing is that on the bottom of the sinkhole you can find stalactites and stalagmites that formed over a long period and serve as evidence of its karst origin. This place not only attracts divers from all over the world, becoming a haven for underwater enthusiasts, but it also gained the status of a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2006. Every year, thousands of tourists come to see this natural wonder with their own eyes, diving into its depths and exploring the mysterious underwater life. But that's not the strangest thing. Scientists are still studying how these layers formed and what other secrets this sinkhole holds. With each new investigation, new facts about its ecosystem and significance to the surrounding environment are revealed. The water at the bottom of the sinkhole can contain up to 30% salt, making it unique compared to the surrounding salty waters. Each time a diver descends into this sinkhole, they enter another world where each turn reveals new mysteries and amazing discoveries. The Blue Hole of Dahab, located on the coast of Egypt in the Red Sea, is notorious as the killer hole for good reason. Over 20 tragic incidents involving divers have occurred here, resulting in irreversible losses. This underwater structure is not just a beautiful sight, but a true labyrinth with an arched passage known as the Blue Arch, located at depths between 50 and 55 meters. This passage, approximately 10 meters wide, was discovered by divers in the late 90s, but its beauty is deceptive. Strong currents can suddenly change direction and speed, causing even experienced divers to lose their bearings. Interestingly, underwater currents in this area often reach speeds of 12 kilometers per hour, adding to the challenges of diving. No less dangerous is the effect of nitrogen narcosis, which begins to manifest at depths exceeding 30 meters. Divers descending to such depths may encounter disorientation, hallucinations, and even loss of consciousness. Professionals recommend making stops at depth to minimize risks, but in the conditions of the Blue Hole, this is not always possible. Strong currents may not leave any chance for a safe return. For successful diving in such conditions, deep-sea diving skills and specialized equipment, including gas mixtures, are required to avoid breathing problems. Many divers, lacking sufficient qualifications, underestimate the risks and become victims of this underwater monster. Nevertheless, despite all the dangers, the Blue Hole remains a popular destination among experienced divers seeking thrills and breathtaking underwater views. For instance, here one can see corals over 3,000 years old, as well as numerous exotic fish, some of which can reach a length of 1 meter. This unique combination of beauty and danger creates a distinctive atmosphere that attracts adventure seekers from around the world. Submerged caves of Yucatan are not just natural formations, but true gates to the mysterious world of the ancient Maya civilization. These cenotes were formed due to the collapse of limestone vaults over underground rivers, creating unique water bodies with crystal-clear water that acts as a natural mirror, reflecting the cave ceilings and creating mesmerizing underwater landscapes. Imagine underground rivers stretching for hundreds of kilometers, connecting numerous cenotes, forming a complex network of tunnels. Some of them are so narrow that they seem to lead to another dimension. The water in these caves is so transparent that you can see the bottom at a depth of more than 20 meters. But that's not all. On the bottom of the cenotes, archaeologists find remnants of sacrifices that the Maya once made. Ancient priests believed that cenotes were portals to the underworld, places where the world of the living and the dead intersect. They used these places not only for rituals but also for obtaining water. The water from cenotes was considered sacred. Did you know that some of the found artifacts date back thousands of years and include human remains, ceramic vessels, and objects that could have had ritual significance? In one of the more famous cenotes, Chakmula, archaeologists discovered more than 30 people who were probably victims of rituals. This discovery confirms that cenotes played a central role in the life of the Maya, serving as places of worship and connection to their gods. Moreover, some cenotes were even used for storing seeds and other valuables, as they were considered safe from external threats. But what is truly shocking? In some places, scientists found traces of burials that indicate traditions about which we know very little. For example, in the cenote Lana, which is 40 meters deep, ritual objects were found that, according to researchers, were used for contact with ancestral spirits. These findings open a veil of mystery surrounding the life and beliefs of the Maya. And did you know that there are more than 8,000 cenotes in Yucatan, and each one has its own peculiarities and legends? They are not just natural formations, but true cultural monuments that preserve the history of an entire civilization. The underwater cave system of Sakakton is not just the longest flooded cave system in the world, but also a true labyrinth stretching over more than 350 kilometers beneath the Yucatan Peninsula. Imagine this: these caves formed over thousands of years as a result of the dissolution of limestone, resulting in unique stalactites and stalagmites that can reach heights of up to 5 meters and appear as if they were meticulously sculpted by masters. But what is truly astonishing is that many of these formations have witnessed stories that stretch back into the depths of time when the climate was vastly different. These caves served as shelters for ancient animals, and archaeologists have discovered remains here dating back to over 12,000 years, including the skeleton of a girl named Naya who lived during the Paleolithic era. This skeleton is a remarkable find as it provides insights into the lifestyle and customs of people from that time. Naya was not just a victim, but possibly a ritual object, opening new horizons in understanding the ancient culture of the region. But there's more that is even more astonishing. Inside Sakakton, tools have been found that indicate that people used these caves for hunting and gathering. These are not simple stone tools. They are complex instruments crafted with extraordinary precision, challenging our understanding of the technological level of the ancient inhabitants. Scientists believe that the Sakakton system could have served not only as a shelter, but also as a sacred place where rituals were performed. Each drop of water dripping from the ceiling carries a history that we are just beginning to understand. If you think that's all, prepare for more. In these caves there are traces of ancient animals that hunted humans, raising numerous questions about the interaction between species. The caves of Sakakton are not just a geological phenomenon. They are a true book whose pages we are only beginning to read. The deep waters of the oceans conceal mysteries that humanity is just beginning to unravel, and the desire to penetrate their depths has become a true challenge for engineering minds. Imagine that at depths of more than 10 kilometers, where the pressure is thousands of times greater than atmospheric pressure, and the temperature is close to zero, technologies are being developed that can withstand these extreme conditions. Researchers are working on creating structures that not only withstand the weight of water, but also allow for the collection of data about life in these dark depths. In the darkness, where light does not penetrate, there are creatures capable of bioluminescence, and this opens new horizons for understanding ecosystems. At depths where every square centimeter of air is a true luxury, special materials are used that can resist corrosion and destruction. Do you know that even the strongest metals can quickly disintegrate at such depths? Therefore, the choice of material is not just a question of reliability, but a question of survival. Engineers are developing systems that can operate in absolute darkness, using sound waves for navigation and gathering information about the environment. These technologies allow for the creation of three-dimensional maps of the seabed, revealing landscapes that have been forming for millions of years. But that's not all. Underwater research helps find rare minerals and resources that can change our understanding of the planet's resources. Imagine that the depths of the ocean hide reserves of metals that can be used in high technologies. This is a real goldmine for future generations. And what about ecology? Here begins the struggle to preserve unique ecosystems that may disappear if we do not take care of them. Scientists are studying how human activity affects these fragile communities and what measures need to be taken to preserve them for the future. Entering these unexplored depths, we are not just exploring, we are opening new horizons of possibilities. For example, a recently discovered species living at depths of more than 8 kilometers may have unique properties that could influence medicine. Conclusions about its potential cause a sensation among biologists. Penetrating these waters is not just scientific curiosity, it is a desire to change the world we live in, and each new discovery confirms that the ocean holds many more secrets waiting to be revealed. The Bathyscaphe Trieste is not just a submarine, but a genuine engineering revolution that allowed humanity to peer into the deepest recesses of the ocean. Its design is astonishing. A spherical cabin made of robust steel 12 centimeters thick could withstand pressure equivalent to the weight of 13 tons of water per square centimeter. A float filled with gasoline provided lift and allowed the vessel to descend to the ocean floor without losing stability. But the most remarkable aspect of this descent was the 9-hour journey, filled with anticipation of discovery. Captains Jacques Picard and Don Walsh descended into the abyss where pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, and each meter gave the sensation of conquering not just physical space, but the boundaries of the human spirit. When they reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench, at a depth of approximately 10,900 meters, they encountered an extraordinary flounder, which paid no heed to their presence. This encounter was not just shocking, but also symbolized the moment when science met the unknown, expanding the horizons of our understanding of oceanic depths. The study of the ocean floor contributed significantly to the understanding of ecosystems that exist in seemingly barren conditions. The human desire to explore the unknown depths continues to inspire today. As the researchers themselves said, we are not just exploring the ocean, we are exploring ourselves. As a result of this expedition, we not only obtained unique data on life in the depths, but also a new perspective on the interaction between humans and nature, which seemed to be beyond our reach. And do you know what is most astonishing? To this day, the bottom of the Mariana Trench may still hide forms of life about which we are not even aware. The deep-sea vehicle Mira has become a true symbol of Russian underwater science and technology, capable of diving to depths of up to 6,000 meters. Weighing around 50 tons and with a diameter of 3 meters, it can withstand immense pressure in deep-sea conditions. Its design features 2 hermetically sealed domes made of special titanium, ensuring the safety of the crew and scientific equipment at great depths. But that's not all. Mira is equipped with modern life support systems that maintain a comfortable atmosphere for 2 crew members for more than 24 hours. What's most fascinating? It can be controlled both from inside and remotely, opening up new horizons for research. The vehicle is equipped with manipulators that can perform complex operations on the ocean floor, such as collecting soil samples or installing equipment for scientific experiments. It also has high-resolution video cameras to capture all that happens in the ocean depths. Mira has participated in major expeditions, including the exploration of the sunken Titanic in 1991. Imagine, the Mira crew was the first to see the wreckage of this legendary ship at a depth of 13,000 meters, marking a breakthrough in the study of the underwater world. But that's not all. Mira has also explored hydrothermal vents, which are true ecological oases in the lifeless depths. And what's even more astonishing, this vehicle was used for filming James Cameron's Titanic, adding another layer of fame and importance to its legacy in the world of cinema. With such equipment as Mira, exploring the ocean depths becomes not just possible, but truly captivating, opening new horizons for science and art. And what's even more amazing, Its capabilities continue to inspire new generations of researchers to seek answers in the very heart of the oceans. Modern deep-sea drones and autonomous underwater vehicles are becoming the stars of underwater science, opening up new horizons for research that was previously inaccessible. Imagine this. These vehicles can dive to depths of up to 6,000 meters, where pressure reaches 60 atmospheres, all without risk to human life. Unlike manned vessels, drones do not require a habitable compartment, allowing for significant reductions in size and weight. For instance, one of the most famous vehicles, Triton, is only 3 meters long and weighs around 14 kilograms, making it ideal for hard-to-reach locations. These drones can operate autonomously for up to 12 hours, collecting data without human intervention, thereby extending mission durations. A key advantage is their navigation system, based on inertial sensors and GPS, which allows them to accurately determine their location, even in the absence of a signal, which is crucial for deep-sea research. Energy systems for such vehicles like Sea Glider use batteries that can be recharged on the surface, making them even more efficient. The drone can surface, upload collected data, and continue the research, eliminating the need for frequent returns to the base. Data collection is done using highly sensitive sensors that record water parameters such as temperature, salinity, and oxygen levels, and create three-dimensional maps of the ocean floor. These vehicles are typically equipped with specialized communication systems with the surface using radio waves and acoustic signals, allowing real-time data transmission. For example, the Remus drone can transmit data up to 3 kilometers away, which is crucial for timely responses to environmental changes. Their role in mapping the ocean floor is invaluable. Drones can discover underwater volcanoes, sunken ships, and even new species of living organisms, enabling a deeper understanding of marine ecosystems and geology. And what's even more astonishing, some of these vehicles can even capture three-dimensional footage, creating incredible visualizations of the underwater world. The NECRO project has caused a sensation in the world of underwater research, as it marks the first time that the depths of the Indian Ocean have been explored using manned submersibles capable of diving to depths of over 200 meters. These deep-sea submarines, designed with the latest technologies in mind, can accommodate up to 3 people, allowing scientists not only to observe but also to actively interact with the surrounding environment. Imagine this. In real time, from the depths where darkness reigns, a live broadcast is being transmitted, allowing viewers around the world to witness as researchers uncover new frontiers of the underwater world. But what is even more astonishing? During the mission, the team discovered over 100 new marine organisms previously unknown to science. For instance, they found unusual mollusks with vibrant colors and peculiar shapes that inhabit the sea floor around the Seychelles and Maldives. Each new discovery not only expands our knowledge of ocean biodiversity, but also raises important questions about the preservation of these unique ecosystems. The underwater drones used in the project can autonomously explore sections of the seabed, creating detailed maps that will help us understand how marine landscapes change over time. But that's not the most extraordinary thing. During one of the expeditions, a unique underwater volcano was recorded, which was spewing hot water and minerals, creating conditions suitable for the life of exotic organisms. The team is also studying the impact of climate change on these remote waters, collecting data on temperatures and oxygen levels at various depths. Thanks to these studies, we can peer into a world that has long remained hidden from human eyes. If you thought that underwater discoveries ended with exotic species, then you're in for an even more fascinating journey. Scientists have found evidence that some marine creatures can adapt to extreme conditions, challenging our understanding of life in the ocean. Right now, the team is continuing its work, exploring new areas and uncovering ever more intriguing facts about life on the ocean floor. Underwater archaeology. It's not just a science, it's a real adventure at the edge of the possible. Imagine a team of historians and archaeologists diving into the dark depths of the ocean, where pressure can reach 120 atmospheres and water temperature can drop to 0 degrees Celsius. These specialists develop unique technologies that allow them to explore sunken ships and ancient settlements resting on the ocean floor. For instance, the use of high-resolution underwater drones with cameras that can transmit images in real time has become standard in this field. With such devices, researchers can capture details that were previously inaccessible, such as murals on the walls of submerged temples. But that's not all. For work at great depths, special suits with life support systems are used, enabling archaeologists to stay underwater for up to 8 hours at a time. How do they interact with these technologies? Each dive requires meticulous preparation, including studying underwater currents and visibility conditions that can change in minutes. Additionally, archaeologists use radiocarbon dating to determine the age of artifacts, helping to understand their role in human history. What's even more intriguing, artifacts found in underwater excavations can reveal ancient trade routes and cultural exchanges between civilizations that existed thousands of years ago. Remarkably, in some cases, underwater archaeologists even find the remains of ancient animals preserved due to unique conditions on the ocean floor. This allows researchers to study not only human history, but also the ecosystems that existed in the past. For example, in some submerged regions, fossils of marine creatures that lived during a time when sea levels were significantly lower have been discovered. And what about the mysteries yet to be solved? Each new underwater archaeology project opens new horizons for research, and each discovery can change our understanding of the past. Sometimes archaeologists encounter artifacts that defy explanation, forcing them to re-evaluate all previously known facts about ancient cultures and life. For instance, the sunken city of Heracleion continues to amaze researchers with its mysterious structures and artifacts. These finds become true keys to understanding how millions of people lived, traded, and interacted with each other when the world was just beginning to take shape. And this is just the beginning. Underwater archaeology continues to develop, and with each year, new technologies and methods make research even deeper and more exciting. Scientific journals publish new data on discoveries, and each publication sparks discussions among scientists worldwide. What else might the ocean be hiding? Methods of dating underwater archaeological finds reveal many fascinating secrets from the past that lie at the bottom of the ocean. Using radiocarbon analysis, it is possible to determine the age of organic materials such as wood or textiles that have been preserved in anoxic conditions. This method is based on measuring the content of carbon-14, which begins to decay after the death of an organism. For example, researchers can analyze wood found on sunken ships to determine when the tree was cut down, allowing them to establish the time frame of construction. But that's not all. Dendrochronology, or the analysis of tree rings, can provide even more precise data on the time when a specific tree was used. According to experts, dendrochronology can accurately determine the age of wood to within 1 year, providing extraordinary precision in the dating of historical objects. But what about ceramics and coins? They can also tell their story. Analysis of styles and technologies used in the production of ceramics and coins allows archaeologists to link finds with specific cultures and periods. For instance, ceramics with distinctive patterns can indicate a particular region and era, while coins contain information about rulers and economic conditions of the time. However, the underwater environment presents numerous challenges for preserving the temporal scale. High salinity, pressure, and water temperature can cause corrosion and destruction of finds, making their study difficult. To overcome these distortions, researchers use special conservation methods, including freezing and the use of inert gases to protect against oxidation. In some cases, special packaging has been developed to help preserve finds in the underwater environment. It is interesting to note that thanks to modern technologies such as 3D scanning, scientists can create accurate models of finds, allowing them to study them without physical contact, preserving them in their original state. And what is truly fascinating, recent research shows that even in the most extreme underwater conditions, dating methods can be successfully applied, opening new horizons for understanding human history. And what is even more astonishing, there are technologies that allow the study of microscopic organisms preserved on sunken objects to date them with incredible accuracy. The methods of conserving artifacts retrieved from the seabed are astonishing in their complexity and meticulousness. For instance, wood extracted from sunken ships, such as the famous ship Vasa, requires special treatment. In this process, polyethylene glycol is used, which penetrates the wood's structure and replaces water, preserving its shape and preventing its destruction. This process can take several years, sometimes even decades, as polyethylene glycol must slowly and evenly penetrate the wood to avoid cracks and deformations. But this is not all. Metallic artifacts undergo electrolysis, which helps remove corrosion. This technology is based on the application of electric current, which causes corrosion products to detach from the metal's surface. Remarkably, this method can restore even severely damaged items such as swords or coins, which have been on the ocean floor for decades. Ceramics and organic materials require an even more delicate approach. For ceramics, a special solution is often used, which penetrates microcracks and strengthens the material, thereby preventing further destruction. In the case of organic materials, such as fabrics or leather, freezing and drying technologies are used to preserve their structure with minimal loss. These processes can be very lengthy. For example, preserving fabrics found on the decks of sunken ships can take up to 30 years to achieve stability and prevent decay. What is truly remarkable is that all these methods require not only technological innovations, but also a deep understanding of the chemical and physical processes occurring with the materials. Agree that working with artifacts that have been forgotten on the ocean floor is indeed a science, where every wrong move can lead to their final destruction. Legal aspects of underwater archaeology present a real puzzle, especially when it comes to the protection of submerged cultural heritage. The UNESCO Convention of 2001 serves as a cornerstone in this field. It establishes principles for the protection of underwater cultural heritage, requiring states to take measures to protect and preserve submerged objects within their territorial waters. This means that each country has sovereign rights over objects within its borders, even if they sank centuries ago. However, the question arises, what if these objects hold historical significance for all of humanity? This is where the complexities arise, as treasure hunters often violate these rights, extracting artifacts for personal gain without considering their cultural value. While some countries actively combat this phenomenon, others encourage commercial salvage, leading to ethical dilemmas. Should artifacts be raised if it could damage their original context? Imagine a ship resting on the ocean floor, carrying not only valuable treasures but also important evidence of past human life. Raising such items could destroy their historical value and context. These debates about preservation versus extraction become more acute with the advent of new technologies, such as robotic underwater vehicles, which can facilitate access to these objects but also increase the risk of their damage. Consequently, the UNESCO Convention calls for scientific research to be conducted only in accordance with strict ethical norms. However, even with international legislation in place, many countries face difficulties in its implementation. For instance, in some cases, there is a lack of necessary infrastructure to protect such objects, making them vulnerable to looting. Meanwhile, alongside treasure hunters, there are many researchers who strive to preserve this heritage, but their work is often constrained by a lack of funding and resources. These contradictions highlight the need for clearer regulation and international cooperation to ensure the protection of rights to submerged objects and the preservation of cultural heritage. And what is most shocking, in some countries, the penalty for illegal artifact recovery can be equivalent to a 10-year prison sentence. Photogrammetry and three-dimensional modeling have truly revolutionized underwater archaeology, opening up new horizons for the study of sunken objects. Imagine researchers armed with nothing but cameras, diving into dark waters to capture thousands of images of a single artifact. Upon returning to the surface, the magic begins. These images are transformed into highly detailed digital models that can achieve accuracy up to 1 millimeter. This process is non-invasive. Instead of physically digging and destroying historical artifacts, archaeologists use technology to visualize and analyze them, preserving the context of the finds. But that's not all. Thanks to the created three-dimensional models, virtual museums can now be created, allowing anyone to walk through sunken ships or ancient cities without leaving home. This completely changes the approach to education and the popularization of science. Imagine that anyone can see artifacts that were previously only accessible to select researchers. Models created using photogrammetry serve not only for visual perception, but also for scientific analysis. Specialists can study the details of the construction of sunken objects without repeated dives, significantly saving time and resources. Research shows that the use of this technology reduces the risk of damage to finds by 80% compared to traditional methods. And now for the most amazing part. Thanks to the analysis of digital models, previously unnoticed details can be discovered. For example, hidden inscriptions or design elements that cannot be seen on ordinary photographs. This process involves not only archaeologists but also computer graphics specialists who create software for data processing. As a result, we get not just an image, but a full-fledged digital replica that can be analyzed, compared, and even used for educational purposes. And get this, with the help of virtual reality, such models can be integrated into interactive exhibitions where viewers can not only look but also touch ancient artifacts, creating the feeling of direct interaction with history. Oceans of the Earth occupy approximately 71% of the planet's surface, and it is precisely in these abyssal depths that mysteries lie hidden, of which humanity only has a faint idea. Imagine this, at 1,000 meters below sea level, where light barely penetrates, a world of riddles reigns that challenges our understanding of life. Research shows that more than 95% of the oceans remain unexplored, creating an ideal environment for anomalies and inexplicable phenomena that baffle scientists and explorers. What about the mysterious sounds emanating from the depths, which cannot be explained by any known source? Some of them may sound like enormous underwater mechanisms, while others resemble the wails of ancient creatures about which we know nothing. But that's not all. In the oceans, there are areas where water exhibits unusual behavior, such as anomalous currents that can suddenly change direction and speed, causing ships to lose their bearings. Did you know that some researchers suggest that these mysterious zones could harbor entire ecosystems based on chemical reactions that have no counterparts on the surface? This could completely change our understanding of how life can develop in extreme conditions. But there's more. There are even theories about submerged cities that sank as a result of catastrophes about which no historian has ever mentioned, and perhaps one day we will find evidence of their existence. Now imagine oceanic depths where entire ecosystems may be on the brink of extinction, facing threats from humans, while at the same time hiding the inexhaustible wisdom of nature. Scientific research shows that in these waters, creatures live that can glow in the dark or even change their shape to protect themselves from predators. And the most shocking thing? Some of these organisms can survive temperatures that would kill a human in a matter of minutes. Each new expedition to the ocean brings not only knowledge but also new mysteries that may never be solved. But what do you think might still be hidden in these dark depths? Oceans continue to keep their secrets, and each wave can bring a new discovery that challenges everything we know about life on Earth. In 1997, researchers from Norway recorded sounds that became known as bloop. These ultra-low-frequency sounds are thousands of times louder than the loudest animal on Earth, the blue whale. Imagine a sound that can travel thousands of kilometers being detected in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, an area where little is known about underwater life. These sounds were captured by specialized hydrophones designed for monitoring underwater nuclear tests, and their unusual nature led scientists worldwide to develop theories about their origin. The frequency of bloop ranged from 10 to 30 Hz, making them audible only to specialized equipment. But what could be the source of these gigantic sounds? One of the first hypotheses suggested that it could be an unknown marine animal, possibly a colossal whale about which we know nothing. However, this is not the only theory. Some scientists propose that bloop could be a result of a process called icequake, where large ice masses fracture and create sounds that can travel vast distances. Meanwhile, there are theories linking these sounds to seismic activity on the ocean floor, where tectonic plates collide and cause powerful vibrations. This discovery posed a challenge to the scientific community. How could such a powerful sound phenomenon occur in seemingly quiet and lifeless areas? The geographical origin of bloop also sparked interest. The sounds were detected in an area where most of the seafloor is covered by deep-sea trenches and underwater mountains, adding more mysteries to the already complex picture. Despite numerous attempts to unravel their nature, bloop remains one of the ocean's most unsolved mysteries, and each new attempt to explain them only fuels interest in the enigmas of the underwater world. But did you know that a sound we cannot hear can tell us much more about what is happening underwater? Milky white luminescence, known as Milky Sea, has been intriguing sailors and researchers for centuries. Imagine vast expanses of ocean where the water surface shimmers like it's covered in pristine white lights. Witnesses of this phenomenon describe scenes where light stretches over hundreds of square kilometers, creating the illusion of a burning sea. One of the most vivid descriptions comes from Captain James Cook, who, in the 18th century, noted the ocean's glow as his ship passed by. But what causes this extraordinary luminescence? The answer lies in microscopic bacteria that live in the water. These organisms, known as bioluminescent, can emit light in response to mechanical stimuli such as water movement. When their numbers are high, for instance, during a plankton bloom, the light can be so intense that it is visible from a great distance. But that's not all. Recent satellite observations, including those from missions like SWOMI NPP, have allowed scientists to track Milky Sea on a global scale. Astronomers have found that this luminescence is most frequently observed in tropical and subtropical regions where water temperature reaches certain levels and nutrient levels are high. In such conditions, bacteria reproduce at an incredible rate, making the luminescence particularly bright. Did you know that in some ocean areas, such as the Caribbean Sea, the light can be so intense that at night, every movement creates a soft blue glow? This phenomenon attracts tourists from around the world who want to see this magical oceanic light with their own eyes. There are other aspects that spark interest. For example, how might climate change affect the frequency and intensity of Milky Sea? Scientists are already concerned that changes in ocean ecosystems could lead to a decrease in this beauty. But what is even more intriguing, some researchers suggest that Milky Sea may signal broader changes in the health of oceans, serving as a barometer of marine ecosystem health. Thus, this luminescence is not just a beautiful sight, but also a crucial indicator of the ecological state of our seas. Scientific research continues to advance, and who knows what new discoveries await us in the depths of the ocean. Quakers are mysterious underwater objects that were detected by hydroacoustic systems on submarines during the Cold War, causing concern and a plethora of theories. Imagine signals moving at speeds up to 200 knots. This is an impressive speed comparable to the fastest submarines of the time, but these objects had another unique characteristic, the ability to suddenly change direction. In some cases, their locations were recorded at depths exceeding 1,000 meters, which cast doubt on their origin from known marine creatures. This phenomenon attracted the attention not only of military personnel, but also of researchers who sought to understand what lay behind these enigmatic signals. The secrecy surrounding Quakers was so high that even the most experienced analysts could not agree on a single explanation. Were they equipment malfunctions, unknown marine animals, or unidentified underwater objects? One theory suggests that these signals could be linked to previously undiscovered animal species capable of extraordinary maneuvers. However, some of these signals were detected with such regularity that researchers began to suspect not random system errors, but something much more complex. Now imagine that such signals were recorded simultaneously in several oceans, which cast doubt on any explanations related to individual errors. Many specialists, including oceanographers and biologists, tried to find an explanation. How is this possible in conditions where depth and pressure create extreme difficulties for most organisms? The more questions arose, the fewer answers were found. The study of Quakers became a real ghost hunt, where each new signal sparked hope for solving the mystery. But this is not the most strange. Some scientists began to propose ideas that these signals could be attempts at communication between underwater creatures that we simply cannot understand. Perhaps these signals are more than just mechanical errors or unknown marine animals. What is even more shocking? Perhaps these Quakers are the result of the influence of sound on underwater systems that defy conventional explanations. Research continues, and each new signal could be the key to solving this puzzle, leaving a trail of questions for which there are no answers yet. Red tides. This is not just a beautiful name, but a phenomenon capable of shocking with its scale and consequences. Imagine an ocean suddenly turning bright red. This is actually a massive proliferation of toxic algae, and such outbreaks occur worldwide. How does this happen? First, for the algae to reproduce, they need an ideal combination of conditions: high water temperature, excessive nutrient content, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and calm water conditions that promote their growth. This mainly occurs in coastal zones where rivers bring fertilizers that stimulate the rapid growth of microscopic organisms. What is even more shocking? About 17 species of algae can cause these tides, and some of them produce dangerous toxins that can kill marine creatures. These toxins, entering the food chain, have a toxic effect on fish and marine mammals, leading to mass die-offs not only of marine animals, but also, ultimately, posing a threat to human health. Over the past 30 years, the frequency of red tides has increased by more than twofold, which is linked to climate change, ocean pollution, and excessive use of fertilizers in agriculture. This leads to economic consequences. Fishing suffers losses, and some areas become unsuitable for tourism, as beaches are closed due to water toxicity. The most striking example is the case in 2006 in the Gulf of Mexico, when a red tide led to the closure of fishing grounds over an area of more than 130 kilometers, costing local fishermen millions of dollars. Now imagine these phenomena could become even more frequent in the future as ocean temperatures continue to rise. Scientists predict that by 2050, the number of such cases could triple if no measures are taken. Doesn't this make you wonder how we can influence this situation? And the most astonishing thing? Some species of algae causing red tides can also produce substances that can damage the human nervous system. The ocean is not just a water surface, but a whole world that can influence human consciousness and subconsciousness. Imagine an ocean that covers more than 70% of our planet's surface. Its silent power can evoke both awe and reverence. Waves reaching heights of 8 meters can crash against rocks with such force that even the strongest shores can be undermined. The ocean, with its depths full of mysteries, is teeming with life that can suddenly surface. Have you ever wondered how many marine species are still undiscovered? According to scientists, approximately 90% of the ocean world remains unexplored, making it both captivating and frightening. Did you know that each drop of ocean water contains more than 150 different chemical elements? This endless diversity creates a unique atmosphere. The sound of waves calms while the power of tides and currents, creating cycles stirs the imagination. The ocean's depth can reach 10 kilometers, and in these dark waters creatures of immense size dwell. For example, a giant squid can reach a length of 13 meters, evoking both fear and admiration. Or imagine underwater volcanoes spewing lava, creating new ecosystems right before the eyes of researchers. This process, known as black smokers, generates hot springs surrounded by unique organisms found nowhere else on Earth. But that's not all. The ocean can be both a source of life and a place of death. Recall the mysterious shipwrecks caused by unpredictable storms or underwater reefs. Each of these events leaves a trace in our culture, inspiring writers and artists to create works about marine adventures and tragedies. And of course, we cannot forget how the ocean influences the climate. It absorbs carbon dioxide and regulates the planet's temperature, making it a key player in global processes. Have you ever thought about how each tide and ebb not only changes the landscape but also the life on the coast? In some places, the water level can fluctuate by 6 meters, creating remarkable ecosystems that depend on these cycles. The ocean is not just a force of nature, it is a living organism that continues to amaze us with its scale and mysteries. For instance, did you know that in the Pacific Ocean alone, there are more than 30,000 islands providing ideal conditions for unique flora and fauna? Each of these islands is a separate story, full of discoveries and secrets waiting to be revealed. Thalassophilia is not just a love for the sea, but a genuine passion rooted in the evolution of our species. Did you know that the hypothesis of the water ape suggests that our ancestors spent significant time near water, shaping our psychology and preferences? Research shows that observing the water's surface triggers the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are responsible for feelings of happiness and calm. This explains why many people feel tranquil when looking at the ocean or listening to the sound of waves. Psychological studies confirm that simply being in a marine landscape can reduce stress levels, improve overall well-being, and enhance creativity. For instance, in a study conducted in 2017, participants who spent time by the sea reported a significant decrease in anxiety compared to those in an urban environment. But that's not all. The sound of waves acts as a natural tranquilizer, and its rhythm can mimic the heartbeat, creating a sense of safety and comfort. Interestingly, thalassophilia manifests not only in psychological aspects, but also in culture. In art and literature, the sea often symbolizes not only beauty but also the depth of human emotions. For example, in Sergei Yesenin's poetry, the sea is associated with longing and dreams, while in Claude Monet's paintings, it is depicted as an endless source of inspiration and tranquility. Did you know that in the 20th century, research on the impact of nature on human psychology led to the creation of new art movements, such as ecological art? These works often explore the relationship between humans and nature, with the sea taking a central role. But what is even more fascinating is that thalassophilia has physical manifestations. Some people even start practicing surfing or diving, aiming to connect with the ocean on a deep level. This desire is not just a form of entertainment, but a quest to understand one's place in the world and to recognize one's connection with nature. What else might lie behind this love for the sea? Research shows that even a simple walk on the beach can increase creativity by 30%, and this discovery changes our perspective on leisure time by the water. Fear of the ocean and deep waters is a phenomenon that affects approximately 30% of the population, and its roots can be traced back to the depths of our evolution. Imagine your ancestors, hunter-gatherers, encountering massive marine predators, which instilled in us an instinctive fear of the unknown underwater world. This fear is not merely a phobia, but a manifestation of the instinct of self-preservation, as the open ocean hides numerous dangers such as strong currents, sharks, and unpredictable storms. For many people, this fear begins with a slight discomfort when looking at water, but can escalate to a complete aversion, leading to panic attacks when attempting to approach the shore. Have you ever wondered why some people cannot look at the ocean without feeling anxious? This is because deep waters are associated with the abyss, where we cannot control our surroundings, and this uncertainty only intensifies the fear. But there's more. The fear of the ocean has found its reflection in popular culture. The film Jaws, released in 1975, became a cultural phenomenon, spawning an entire genre of horror films where evil lurks in the dark waters. Did you know that after its release, sales of swimsuits in the US dropped by 30%? People began to fear even swimming in the sea. And it's no surprise, as such films emphasize how quickly the ocean can transform from a place of relaxation into a zone of deadly danger. Modern psychologists offer various therapy methods to combat thalassophobia, from cognitive behavioral therapy to exposure therapy, where the patient gradually confronts their fear in a safe environment. What is truly shocking is that approximately 7% of people suffering from thalassophobia never attempt to enter water, even if it is safe. These figures underscore how far fear, born of both evolutionary mechanisms and cultural stereotypes, can go, creating barriers between humans and their natural environment. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, feeling a gentle breeze and the sound of waves below, and suddenly you feel an inexplicable urge to jump. This phenomenon, known as the call of the abyss, affects not only the brave, but also ordinary people in a state of calm mind. Studies show that up to 7 out of 10 people have experienced this fleeting desire at some point, even if they do not suffer from anxiety disorders. But what happens in our brain during such moments? Neuropsychologists explain this phenomenon as the activation of brain regions responsible for risk assessment and impulsivity. When we stand on the edge of a cliff, our brain analyzes the situation and associates it with potential danger, but at the same time, internal contradictions arise, making us consider an action that would be absurd in normal circumstances. In people with high functional anxiety, this desire may intensify because their brain is more sensitive to danger and simultaneously seeks control over the situation. Here, an interesting paradox emerges. How can a normal person experience such a desire while remaining mentally healthy? Studies show that the call of the abyss is more likely to occur in situations where we feel most vulnerable, such as at high altitudes or near deep waters. In literature, these moments are reflected by great authors. Herman Melville, in his work Moby Dick, describes the struggle of man against natural forces, evoking in the reader a sense of the vastness of the ocean and internal conflict. Joseph Conrad, in his works such as Heart of Darkness, creates an atmosphere where the call of the abyss becomes a metaphor for the human soul striving for the unknown. These writers convey that very internal conflict that we can feel standing on the edge. Studies show that in the presence of such phenomena, people develop a heightened interest in extreme sports and extreme situations where adrenaline replaces that very call. It is important to note that this phenomenon does not always lead to action. Only 1/3 of people experiencing it decide to jump. But did you know that the call of the abyss has its roots in survival mechanisms? In ancient times, when our ancestors stood on the edge of a cliff, this desire could serve as a warning about risks and also push them to explore the boundaries of the possible. This psychological mechanism, arising from evolution, continues to act today, causing us to feel both fear and curiosity. Seasickness of the mind, do you know what that is? It's not just a physical ailment, but a psychological phenomenon that affects sailors after long voyages. Imagine spending weeks or even months at sea, where the motion of the waves becomes part of daily life. In such a state, sailors adapt to constant movement, and their perception of time and space becomes distorted. They begin to see the world through the lens of waves, which carry them into an endless blue expanse. But as soon as they step onto land, reality hits them hard. The solidity of the earth, the stability that seems foreign. This state often leads to difficulties in readapting, where ordinary sounds and movements cause discomfort. Sailors' journals are filled with accounts of losing their bearings, feeling disoriented when they start to feel out of place on land. For instance, the famous explorer Ferdinand Magellan described how, after months at sea, he had difficulty perceiving familiar things, such as smells or the sound of machines. Modern neuropsychological research shows that this phenomenon is linked to changes in brain function, where prolonged exposure to monotonous movements and sounds causes a reorganization of neural connections. It has been calculated that 25% of sailors experience symptoms similar to vestibular disorders upon returning home. And that's not all. It turns out that people whose lives are connected to the sea develop a unique psychology where the fear of land and its solidity intertwines with a sense of freedom on the water. They become more sensitive to movements, which affects their interaction with the world around them. If you thought that was all, here's the most astonishing part. Research shows that these changes can persist even years after stepping onto land. 80% of sailors report that adapting to life on land takes them at least a month, and some cannot return to normal life without support. The ocean, as a symbol, permeates the mythologies of the world, serving as both a source of life and chaos. Imagine vast expanses of water where each wave can carry either blessing or destruction. It is not merely a water element, but a powerful archetype representing the forces of nature. In various myths, the ocean becomes the boundary between the known and the unknown, the place where the worlds of the living and the dead intersect, and its depths conceal secrets that often defy understanding. It is no surprise that many cultures viewed the ocean as the abode of supernatural beings that could both protect and punish. For instance, spirits that control the elements dwell in the ocean's waters, capable of summoning storms or bringing calm. The ocean, with its unpredictable tides and currents, mirrors human emotions and experiences, joy, fear, hope, and despair. Have you heard that in myths, it is often depicted as an endless source of wisdom, where each magical whirlpool can reveal ancient knowledge? Mythical navigational paths often lead to unknown islands filled with riches, but also traps for those who enter the waters without due respect. The ocean also symbolizes the cycles of life, from birth to death, from spring to winter, from high tide to low tide. Each drop of water can be linked to myths about the origin of life, where the ocean serves as the cradle where the first beings are born. Do you know that in some traditions, it is believed that the first humans emerged from the ocean's depths? As distant shores become a metaphor for unexplored horizons, the ocean serves as a constant reminder that beyond our perception lies something far greater. When we contemplate its vastness, a question arises: how could so many stories and legends have originated around a single element of nature? If you thought the ocean only brought chaos, open your eyes to its role as a protector, which holds within it many mysteries. The ocean's depths can hide not only dangers, but also extraordinary treasures waiting to be discovered. For example, underwater currents can transport ancient artifacts that reveal the stories of long-lost civilizations. Thus, the ocean becomes a living symbol that can tell us much if only we are willing to listen. Poseidon, or Neptune, in Greek and Roman mythology, is not just a god of the seas, but a true force of nature, symbolizing both blessing and destruction. Imagine him with his trident, which not only served as a tool for controlling the waters, but also reflected his power. The length of this attribute could reach 2 meters, and it embodied the 3 primary elements: sea, earthquakes, and horses. But do you know that this trident was also used to create sources of fresh water? In the myths, it is told how Poseidon fought with Athena for the patronage of the city of Athens, creating a water source that became a symbol of his power and cunning. His chariot, drawn by hippocamps, mythical seahorses with fishtails, could race across the waves with the same speed as the wind carries a sail, and the size of these creatures could sometimes reach 3 meters in length. Poseidon's character was contradictory. He could be both a protector and a destroyer. His wrath was particularly evident in sea storms, making him one of the most dangerous gods. In his relationships with other deities, his status varied from rivalry with Zeus to friendship with Hades. For instance, in the myth of the Trojan War, he supported the Greeks but also avenged the insults to his temples. The cult of Poseidon flourished on the coasts of Greece, especially in Corinth, where a great temple was dedicated to him, and on the island of Delos, where rituals related to sea voyages were performed. His image evolved in Roman culture, where Neptune became a symbol not only of the seas but also of springs and rivers, emphasizing his multifaceted nature. Remarkably, even in the Middle Ages, his symbolism remained relevant. Neptune became a symbol of seafaring and trade. In art, you can see him on many paintings and sculptures where he is depicted with his trident and hippocamps, highlighting his grandeur. In the modern world, his cult lives on in the names of ships and maritime terms, continuing to inspire many people. For example, in the 21st century, there are several yachts named after Neptune, demonstrating how his influence permeates our lives. Ryujin, or Watatsumi, is one of the most significant deities in Japanese mythology, embodying the sea and all its mysteries. He is depicted as a majestic dragon, capable of controlling water elements. Imagine his underwater palace, built from gleaming corals and pearls, where he rules not only the seas but also the tides and currents, thanks to a magical pearl known as Tama. According to legends, this pearl possesses incredible power. It controls not only the movement of water, but also the lives of marine creatures, creating harmony in the underwater world. But that's not all. Ryujin is also considered the father of numerous daughters and sons-in-law who, according to myths, became deities guarding various aspects of life at sea. For example, his daughter, Tadzimatsu, is known as the patron of fishing, and sailors pray to her before setting sail. Worship rituals for Ryujin are conducted along the entire Japanese coastline and include offerings where a fisherman throws rice and sake into the sea, asking for a good catch and safe return home. These ceremonies are an integral part of Japanese fishermen's culture, who believe that Ryujin watches over them and protects them from storms. In art and literature, the image of Ryujin holds a prominent place. He is often depicted in prints, paintings, and theatre, usually as a majestic dragon writhing in the waters or as a man with dragon-like features. In one of the most famous works of Japanese literature, Records of the Sea of Japan, the author describes encounters with Ryujin as if he were a real being, adding depth and realism to the myth. In folk culture, numerous tales have been preserved about how Ryujin helped people, saving them from shipwrecks or punishing those who disrespected the sea. What's most fascinating is that Ryujin is not just a god, but a symbol of the connection between people and the sea, making us reflect on our role in this vast watery world. Tangaroa is not just a god of the ocean in Polynesian mythology, but the central figure symbolizing all that is connected to the sea and its riches. In various versions of the myths, his origin varies from one island to another. On some islands, he is considered the son of the sky god Rangi and the earth goddess Papa, while on others, he is depicted as an independent deity born from the primordial chaos. What's fascinating is that in the legends of Tahiti, it is told that Tangaroa created the world by dispelling the primeval darkness with his powerful breath, which parted the waters of the oceans and revealed new islands. His conflict with Tain, the god of forests, forms the basis of many myths. Their clashes represent the struggle between the sea and the land, with Tangaroa usually portrayed as a powerful force capable of causing storms and hurricanes, if not properly venerated. In some versions of the myth, Tangaroa even envies the fertility of the forests and tries to flood them to reclaim the natural resources, leading to a constant battle between the two deities. And here is where it gets really interesting. Tangaroa is also considered the patron of fishermen and sailors, and his cult is associated with numerous rituals aimed at appeasing the god before setting sail. On many islands, fishermen performed special dances and made sacrifices to ensure a good catch, as Tangaroa is said to see all that happens in his waters. The rituals related to his veneration were strictly regulated by taboos. For example, it was forbidden to fish on certain sacred days or use specific nets and tools to avoid angering the god. These taboos not only protected the resources but also strengthened the bond between people and the ocean, emphasizing the importance of harmony with nature. What's even more astonishing is that Tangaroa not only controlled the marine elements but was also a source of wisdom for navigation, teaching people how to read the stars and use ocean currents for safe sailing. His significance in the culture of the peoples of the Pacific is hard to overestimate. On many islands, his images can be found in art, and his name is pronounced with respect in conversations about the sea and life on the water. All these aspects make Tangaroa not just a deity, but a true symbol of the connection between Polynesians and their environment. Did you know that on some islands he is revered as the god of rain, linking him to life on land? Egi, the Scandinavian sea giant, is renowned for his powerful presence in mythology and the mysteries of the ocean. His abode, located at the bottom of the sea, resembles a magnificent hall built from gleaming precious stones and rare materials that glow in the dark like stars. Here, Egi hosted feasts for the gods, where the fare was so diverse that even the most capricious guest would not go hungry. The table was set with self-luminous golden items that created an atmosphere of magic and wonder. Did you know that even gods like Odin and Thor attended these feasts, not only drinking wine but also listening to incredible tales of their exploits? Ran, his wife, embodies the sea waves and the dangers hidden in the depths. She possesses a unique net that can catch drowning sailors and bring them to her abode. This net was not just a tool but a symbol of the inevitability of fate, for the sea can be both generous and deadly. It is interesting that Ran has 9 daughters, each representing a separate wave, taking on various forms and sizes. They played a significant role in maritime myths, either as protectors or destroyers, depending on the sea's mood. Whenever the waves rose, it meant that Ran's daughters were free, and sailors had to be especially cautious. Egi's feasts, filled with joy and merriment, always had a dark undertone. Behind every joy lay the fear of the sea. Yes, the sea's generosity could turn into evil, creating a unique dual nature of these deities. Did you know that in myths, Egi is often associated with merciless storms that could destroy ships, while Ran embodies the very beauty that lures sailors into its embrace? This interplay of light and shadow makes them symbols of power and fragility, which we can see in every tide and ebb. And when you look at the sea, remember Egi and Ran, embodiments of his multifaceted nature. And do you know what's most fascinating? These gods are not just mythological characters, they reflect our fears and hopes, permeating every wave that crashes onto the shore. The ocean is not just a vast expanse of water, it is a symbol that permeates literature and art across different epochs. Imagine that its depths conceal not only marine mysteries, but also human emotions, dreams, and fears. Water shimmering in the sun becomes a metaphor for infinity, while its tumultuous waves reflect passions and conflicts familiar to us all. The ocean is a grand stage where human dramas unfold, often as unpredictable as a sea storm. Its silent expanses inspire the creation of works that touch the soul and make us ponder eternal questions of existence. Painters use the color of the ocean to convey moods, from bright turquoise to deep ebony, and each shade can evoke a specific feeling in the viewer. The sounds of the ocean, from the gentle whisper of waves to the roar of storms, become musical themes that quicken the heart, or, conversely, soothe it. The ocean envelops both writers and composers in its embrace, offering them endless inspiration. It serves as a backdrop for romantic encounters and tragic farewells, a symbol of love and loss. Did you know that some of the greatest works of art were created in close proximity to the shore, where artists and writers could draw energy from the oceanic landscape? Its changeability serves as a reminder of how quickly life can change, attracting the attention of creators who seek to capture moments that, like waves, rush to the shore and then vanish. The ocean is a place where different cultures and traditions intersect, for its shores are washed by the waters of all the world's oceans, and each nation finds something unique and special in it. It is not only a source of inspiration, but also a place where legends and myths are born and passed down through generations. It is fascinating that some researchers claim that even in the earliest cultures, the sea symbolized more than just a water mass. It represented the boundary between the known and the unknown, between life and death. Thus, the ocean becomes an integral part of human culture and art, and its influence is felt in every work where it is mentioned. The grandeur of the ocean, its endless horizons, and its mysterious depths create an atmosphere that can inspire enduring creativity. Did you know that throughout human history, less than 10% of the ocean floor has been explored? Herman Melville's Moby Dick is one of the most significant works of literature, exploring not only human obsession, but also the vast expanses of the sea, symbolizing the struggle between man and the unknown. The white whale, both majestic and terrifying, is more than just a marine creature. It embodies the deep-seated fears and insurmountable desires of Captain Ahab, who is consumed by his quest for vengeance. This obsession becomes a metaphor for human nature, as the desire for power and control over nature collides with its boundless force. As Ahab pursues his enemy, the reader witnesses the destructive power of resentment and fanaticism that consume his mind and soul. Melville masterfully weaves into the text numerous details about the whaling industry, creating an encyclopedic body of knowledge that immerses the reader in the world of maritime adventure. For instance, he describes the intricacies of the whaling trade, from hunting methods to the use of various tools, such as the harpoon, which in crucial moments becomes an instrument of both life and death. These details not only enrich the plot but also underscore the author's philosophical reflections on the nature of man in the face of the elements. In this context, the sea is not just a backdrop but a living entity filled with dangers and mysteries with which man must interact. In Moby Dick, Melville raises questions about man's place in the world, his role in the ecosystem, and whether he can comprehend his own limits. These musings resonate in literature and culture, inspiring many authors and artists. For example, Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea echoes these themes of man's struggle with nature and inner demons. Moreover, the novel laid the foundation for the genre of maritime literature, setting the tone for subsequent works that explore the relationship between man and the ocean. The influence of Moby Dick is felt in contemporary art, where the white whale is often interpreted as a symbol of the struggle for justice and the pursuit of understanding. Melville leaves the reader with many questions, and one of the most intriguing is, what does the white whale truly represent, and what is the true nature of Ahab's obsession? William Turner's marine-themed paintings are a true symphony of color and light that leaves viewers spellbound. In his works, the sea becomes not just a backdrop, but a living organism filled with emotions and power. Take, for instance, his famous painting The Battle of Trafalgar, where Turner employs vibrant contrasts between the raging sea and the smoke from gunfire, creating a sense of dynamism and chaos. Now imagine how he boldly blurs the lines between realism and abstraction. His marine landscapes often appear as if light and air themselves are the main characters. This technique of light representation, which includes the use of bright yellow and orange hues, allows him to create atmospheric phenomena that seem almost tangible. For example, in Sunrise, Turner shows how sunlight pierces through clouds, painting the sky in fiery colors, and the sea reflects this grandeur like a living mirror. Did you know that his approach to depicting shipwrecks is so realistic that viewers feel the waves crashing against the shore? In The Shipwreck, he depicts a ship being overwhelmed by powerful waves, and this is not just a painting, but a whole story about man's struggle against nature. Turner does not just paint, he creates tension that can still be felt centuries later. His influence on the development of Impressionism is undeniable. Artists like Claude Monet admired his technique and sought to capture the same lightness and airiness. However, Turner goes even further, using color and light in such a way that they become almost abstract. In The Storm, he shows how the sea and the sky merge into one, leaving the viewer in confusion. Where is the boundary between them? This blurred outline is one of his most revolutionary approaches, which changed the perception of marine painting. In his paintings, you can see how waves, clouds, and light interact, creating a unique atmosphere that makes each work special. But this is not all. Turner also experimented with form and texture, creating dynamic compositions that literally take your breath away. His paintings not only reflect the beauty of the sea, but also evoke a sense of awe at its power and unpredictability. Take, for example, Sunlight on the Sea. Each brushstroke seems to convey the movement of water, making the viewer feel as if they are part of this watery world. Turner's works are not just paintings, they are whole experiences that transport us into the realm of the elements, where nature can be both beautiful and terrifying. And the most astonishing thing? His works continue to inspire numerous contemporary artists who continue to explore this unique connection between light, color, and the sea. Claude Debussy's symphonic suite The Sea is a remarkable example of impressionistic music, where the composer masterfully conveys the images and moods of the sea. The first movement, From Dawn to Noon on the Sea, begins with a soft string sound, creating an atmosphere of morning calm. The sounds gradually intensify, like light penetrating through clouds, reaching a climax with the use of brass instruments that evoke the grandeur of the ocean. Notably, Debussy employed unconventional scales and chords, creating a sense of movement and fluidity of water, as if the music itself was swaying on the sea's surface. The second movement, Wave Play, immerses the listener in a dynamic interplay of sounds where strings play light, elegant melodies, while wooden wind instruments mimic the whisper of waves crashing on the shore. Here, the composer uses techniques such as arpeggios and legato to convey the sensation of flow and lightness, creating an illusion of the sea playing in the sun. The structure of this movement is unique. It does not adhere to traditional forms, but rather develops like the waves themselves, making the listening experience particularly engaging. In the final movement, Dialogue of the Wind with the Sea, Debussy employs contrasting musical themes to depict the interaction between wind and water. Here, powerful chords evoke the fury of storms, while soft, almost whispering melodies reflect tranquility. The composer introduces new rhythmic techniques, creating a sense of flight and freedom, as if the wind were rushing over the waves. It is interesting that The Sea was written during a period when Debussy was seeking new approaches to compositional art, and this work became a landmark in his oeuvre. As a result, The Sea had a significant impact on 20th century music, inspiring composers such as Igor Stravinsky and Arnold Schoenberg, who also sought ways to express their ideas through sound and texture. In this work, Debussy does not merely create images of the sea, he immerses the listener in a whole world of sensations, where each movement and note breathes life, making The Sea one of the most significant symphonic works of its time. It is also noteworthy that this suite was first performed in 1903 and has since become one of the most frequently performed and beloved works in concert halls around the world. In Japanese woodblock prints, the ocean is depicted with astonishing detail and expressiveness, particularly in the works of Katsushika Hokusai and Utagawa Hiroshige. The most notable series is 36 Views of Mount Fuji, where the Great Wave off Kanagawa has become an icon of Japanese art. This print shows a wave as tall as a house about to engulf fishing boats, conveying a sense of dynamism and the power of nature. Hokusai employs special technical techniques. Waves are rendered with sharp lines and gradients, creating a sense of movement and depth. The color palette, consisting of rich blues and whites, symbolizes not only the beauty of the sea but also its danger. In Japanese aesthetics, the ocean is often seen as a sacred entity, embodying life, strength, and impermanence, which is reflected in these prints. Hiroshige, on the other hand, adds elements of calm, depicting the sea as a peaceful element where the sky and water merge, creating an atmosphere of harmony. These works have had a profound impact on European artists such as Vincent van Gogh and Claude Monet, who were inspired by Japanese woodblock printing techniques and the use of color. Notably, Japanese woodblock print served as a catalyst for Impressionism, introducing new approaches to depicting nature and light. Contemporary visual culture continues to draw inspiration from these prints. Elements of ukiyo-e can be seen in animation, fashion, and even video games. For instance, the waves from the Great Wave off Kanagawa have become symbols not only of Japanese but also of global art, appearing in the most unexpected contexts. Remarkably, this work, created over 200 years ago, continues to inspire awe and discussion among viewers worldwide. It is fascinating that Hokusai's and Hiroshige's prints serve not only as works of art, but also as historical documents reflecting the culture and perception of nature of their time. The ocean covers more than 70% of the surface of our planet, and it is not just a body of water, but a whole world filled with mysteries and secrets. Imagine that beneath the waves lie mountain ranges longer than any on land. The length of underwater ridges exceeds 60,000 kilometers, making them the longest mountains on Earth. But that's not all. In some places, the ocean's depth exceeds 10 kilometers, and these black abysses remain largely unexplored. Did you know that at these depths, the pressure is 800 times greater than on the surface? This creates conditions that seem otherworldly, and it is here that creatures like giant squids and bioluminescent jellyfish, which look like fantastical beings from films, dwell. But the ocean is not just a home for exotic species. It is also a key element of Earth's climate system. The ocean absorbs more than 30% of the carbon dioxide that humanity emits, making it the most important regulator of climate. However, the state of the oceans is deteriorating. More than 80% of the seas are affected by human activity, from pollution to climate change. Now imagine that more than half of all living organisms on Earth live in this aquatic environment. How can we study and protect these ecosystems? This requires a multidisciplinary approach that combines biology, ecology, geology, and even technologies such as drones and underwater robots. The ocean is the last great frontier that demands not only technology but also a deep understanding of its ecosystems and their connection to the climate. And the most astonishing thing? Each year, scientists discover around 12,000 new species, and all this happens in a world that we cannot even fully explore. The Argo project is a true revolution in ocean monitoring, allowing scientists to receive real-time data on the ocean's state. Imagine this: 4,000 autonomous probes diving to depths of up to 2,000 meters. These devices, about the size of a large bottle, descend to the ocean floor and then resurface to transmit collected information via satellite. Each probe measures water temperature and salinity, as well as current speed and direction, parameters crucial for understanding climate changes. But that's not all. Did you know that over the past 20 years, Argo has gathered more than 1 billion measurements, now accessible to scientists worldwide? This means any researcher can access data that helps analyze the impact of human activity on the climate. For instance, these data have revealed that oceans absorb around 30% of carbon dioxide, significantly influencing global warming. But that's not the most astonishing fact. Based on Argo data, Scientists have determined that ocean temperatures are rising faster than previously thought, by 1 degree every 10 years. How is this possible? The answer lies in the fact that oceans act as giant thermostats, regulating our planet's climate. And get this, these probes have helped identify areas where rapid ice melt is occurring, which could lead to a several-meter rise in sea level. But these data are not just for analysis. Argo has become the foundation for creating a global network of climate models that help predict future climate changes. Picture this. Every change in water temperature can affect weather, ecosystems, and even agriculture. All thanks to these probes that operate on a dive and resurface principle, providing a continuous stream of information about the ocean's state. These data are transmitted daily, and the volumes are impressive. A probe can send up to 1 gigabyte of information per month. Now, scientists worldwide can use these data to create more accurate weather forecasts and assess the impact of climate changes. What other mysteries might the ocean reveal with Argo? The Seabed 2030 project aims for an incredibly ambitious goal to fully map the ocean floor by the year 2030. Currently, only about 20% of the ocean floor has been thoroughly studied and documented, presenting a significant challenge for the Seabed team in the face of rapid global population growth and increased resource demand. To achieve this goal, multi-beam echo sounding is used, which provides accurate and detailed data on the topography and composition of the ocean floor. This technology works by emitting sound waves that bounce off the ocean floor and return to the sensor, providing information about depth and geological features. But how is this possible? The answer lies in international cooperation. Dozens of research institutions, universities, and commercial companies around the world have joined forces to create a unified database accessible to all. This process involves not only research vessels but also commercial yachts that collect data during their voyages, turning each trip into a part of the global project. Did you know that every yacht passing over the ocean floor can contribute to this monumental project? This significantly accelerates the information collection process. The importance of Seabed 2030 cannot be overstated. Accurate ocean floor maps are essential for safe navigation, laying underwater cables and pipelines, and understanding geological processes such as earthquakes and volcanic activity. Moreover, these data are crucial for protecting marine ecosystems, as understanding the floor's topography aids in developing strategies for biodiversity conservation and sustainable resource management. And the most astonishing fact? Scientific research shows that around 90% of the ocean remains unexplored, opening up endless possibilities for future discoveries. In 1977, researchers diving to the ocean floor discovered true oases of life, hydrothermal vents where water temperatures reached 200 degrees Celsius and pressure exceeded 800 atmospheres. These sources became a sensation because they harbored organisms capable of surviving conditions that would be lethal for most living beings. The unique biology of these organisms is based on chemosynthesis, a process where they use chemical reactions to obtain energy instead of sunlight. This means that even in absolute darkness, at depths greater than 2.5 kilometers, life can thrive. But what kind of organisms are these? They are extremophiles, bacteria and archaea that have adapted to toxic environments rich in hydrogen sulfide and other poisons emitted from Earth's interior. For instance, some types of bacteria can oxidize hydrogen sulfide, extracting energy from it, which has formed the basis for entire ecosystems where black smokers, underwater volcanoes, dominate, spewing hot, mineral-rich water. These oases of life not only opened new horizons for biology, but also led scientists to ponder the origins of life on Earth. How could such organisms survive in conditions we once considered inhospitable? Research suggests that these mechanisms could have been the first forms of life on our planet. Moreover, discoveries in hydrothermal ecosystems open new prospects for searching for life on other planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter, where an ocean with similar conditions may lie beneath its icy crust. It is important to note that such research not only expands our knowledge of possible life forms beyond Earth, but also raises questions about how life could have evolved in the most extreme conditions. Now imagine that beyond our planet there could be entire worlds teeming with life based on principles entirely different from those we are accustomed to. Imagine an ocean that becomes more acidic with each passing year. The pH level of marine water is decreasing, and this is not just a statistic, but a real threat to life in the oceans. How does this happen? When carbon dioxide from the atmosphere enters the ocean, it reacts with water to form carbonic acid, which then dissociates, increasing the concentration of hydrogen ions. This leads to a decrease in pH, which has decreased by about 30% over the last 30 years. But this is just the beginning of the problem. Mollusks, corals, and other organisms with calcium shells face serious difficulties. Their skeletons become more fragile, and their growth slows down. For example, corals that form reefs require a certain level of calcium to create their structures, and as pH decreases, this process becomes more difficult. What's even more shocking? Studies show that with increasing levels of carbon dioxide, coral reefs can lose up to 90% of their calcium mass, leading to the destruction of entire ecosystems. Scientists are already observing that coral reefs are losing their color and becoming more susceptible to diseases. This threatens not only marine life but also millions of people who depend on these ecosystems for food and coastal protection. The question arises, how can we monitor this process? Specialists use various methods, including water sample analysis, monitoring of carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, and computer modeling to predict how ocean acidification will develop in the future. For example, by the 21st century, carbon dioxide levels may reach such values that corals will no longer exist in their familiar form. But this is not the only threat. Changes in food chains can affect fish that depend on plankton living in acidic water. Some fish species already show signs of stress, which could lead to population declines and global changes in fisheries. And the most incredible thing? Scientists predict that at current rates of acidification, marine life could face catastrophic consequences within just a few decades. Imagine an ocean that holds secrets surpassing even the wildest human fantasies. Future oceanology research promises to unravel mysteries that have eluded us for centuries. Scientists from around the globe are uniting to create a global network spanning all oceans, and this collaboration is already yielding results. We are talking about revolutionary methods that allow us to explore ocean depths as never before, from microscopic organisms to giant marine mammals. The most astonishing fact? Around 90% of the oceans remain unexplored, opening up endless possibilities for new discoveries. The imagination of scientists is ignited as they consider the potential of bio-inspired approaches, how nature has created its own solutions for survival in the challenging conditions of the ocean. This could lead to the development of new materials and technologies that will transform our approach to ecology and sustainable development. But that's not the most surprising. Oceans are not only sources of resources, but also crucial regulators of Earth's climate. Remember that the temperature of ocean surface waters can change by just a few degrees, but this significantly impacts weather conditions worldwide. Research shows that even small temperature changes can trigger massive disasters like hurricanes and floods. And here's where it gets truly mind-boggling. Oceanographers are working to understand how these changes affect marine ecosystems and, in turn, life on land. Microbiology, genetics, ecology, all these fields are coming together to form interdisciplinary teams capable of solving problems that once seemed impossible. For instance, studying microbes that live in extreme conditions could open new horizons in the development of antibiotics and other medical drugs. What's even more shocking? Each year, oceans absorb more than 30% of carbon dioxide, leading to their acidification. This impacts coral reefs and, consequently, all marine ecosystems. Scientists are already observing how this affects fish populations and other organisms, and consequently, global fisheries. It is expected that by the year 2030, if nothing changes, annual losses in fisheries could reach 20 million tons. This underscores the urgent need for immediate research and joint efforts to preserve marine resources. Oceanology of the future is becoming not just a science, but a real challenge for humanity. We stand at the threshold of a new era where each discovery could not only change our understanding of the ocean, but also our place in the planet's ecosystem. And if you thought that was all, keep an eye on how oceans, their secrets, and our interaction with them will evolve in the coming years. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are becoming true revolutionaries in oceanography, opening up endless horizons for the study of marine depths. Imagine this: algorithms that can analyze trillions of data collected by sensors on underwater vehicles and buoys. These devices record information about temperature, salinity, and even oxygen levels in the ocean, allowing for the creation of detailed maps of underwater ecosystems. Did you know that modern systems can process data faster than any researcher and find hidden patterns that are invisible to the human eye? For example, the use of deep neural networks allows for the identification of marine animal species from images. An algorithm developed in 2021 can accurately identify dolphins and sharks with up to 95% accuracy by analyzing photographs from underwater cameras. But this is just the beginning. Now imagine how these systems can interpret the sounds made by marine creatures. There is a project that uses machine learning to analyze acoustic signals, and it not only allows for the identification of species, but also tracks their migration. It's as if you could listen to the conversations of marine inhabitants and understand where they are going. Complex models based on machine learning are also used to simulate oceanic processes. They help predict how changes in water temperature affect the cycling of nutrients and, consequently, the ecosystem as a whole. Research shows that the accuracy of such models has increased by 30% over the past 5 years due to the integration of new data and algorithms. But what is even more astonishing? These technologies allow researchers to predict weather and climate changes with unprecedented accuracy. Algorithms trained on historical weather and ocean current data can predict hurricanes and other extreme weather events several weeks in advance, potentially saving thousands of lives. In the field of automating the control of underwater vehicles, artificial intelligence enables the creation of autonomous systems that can explore oceanic depths without constant human supervision. These vehicles, equipped with sensors and cameras, can make decisions independently based on their surroundings, making them ideal for long-term expeditions. In 2023, a project was launched in which an autonomous underwater vehicle successfully collected data at a depth of 2,000 meters for 30 days without human intervention. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Every day, technology advances, and with each new discovery, we get closer to understanding the mysteries of the oceans. Imagine an ocean so precisely modeled that we can predict its behavior with an accuracy of up to a meter. This is the concept of the digital twin of the ocean. Within the European project Destination Earth, a detailed computer model is being created that combines data from numerous sources, including satellites, buoys, and underwater sensors. Did you know that each satellite can collect data up to 600 kilometers from Earth? This allows us to obtain information about water temperature, salinity, and even ocean current movements with unprecedented accuracy. But that's not all. Underwater sensors located at depths of up to 3,000 meters provide information about the state of marine ecosystems. How is this possible? All these data are integrated into a powerful model that not only analyzes current conditions, but also predicts future changes. For example, scientists can model how an increase in ocean temperature will affect fish migration, which in turn can alter the entire ecosystem. What's even more astonishing? This system can predict natural disasters such as hurricanes or tsunamis several days in advance, giving us the chance to save thousands of lives. Researchers believe that with the help of the digital twin of the ocean, we can manage fish resources more effectively, preventing the depletion of populations. If you thought this was impressive, wait until you hear this. Modeling can be used for planning marine activities such as fishing or tourism, taking into account not only current conditions but also future changes. And this is just the beginning. Researchers are confident that the digital twin will open up new horizons in the study of oceans, allowing us to understand how global climate change affects the marine environment. Now imagine how this model will evolve in the future. Perhaps we will be able to see how the ocean will look in decades. Biomimicry in marine technologies opens up fascinating horizons, enabling the creation of robots that mimic the movements and behavior of marine creatures. For instance, imagine a robot fish measuring 30 centimeters long, swimming as gracefully as a real fish. These devices can maneuver in narrow spaces where traditional underwater vehicles cannot pass. Their flexible tails and specialized control systems allow them to perform complex maneuvers, making them ideal for research missions. But that's not all. Thanks to their design, they consume twice less energy than conventional underwater drones, significantly increasing their operational time underwater. And here's the most amazing part. These robots can work in groups much like real schools of fish, allowing them to collect data over vast areas. For example, in 2000, a project in Japan involved a group of 20 robot fish collecting information about the state of water bodies using synchronized movements to cover large territories. Now imagine jellyfish that not only float but are equipped with sensors to monitor water quality. Their transparent bodies can be nearly invisible to most marine creatures, allowing them to silently gather data on temperature, salinity, and pollution. Such jellyfish can operate in complex conditions where traditional devices cannot function due to interference. Researchers from Stanford University developed an octopus robot that can mimic the movements of a real octopus, including object capture and maneuvering. This 1-meter-long robot can operate without bulky mechanical parts, making it perfect for work in coral reefs, where traditional underwater vehicles could damage the fragile ecosystem. And what's even more astonishing, in 2021, the development team demonstrated how these octopus robots could use their tentacles to collect samples from the seabed without harming the environment. This opens up new possibilities for ecological monitoring. With such technologies, we can not only explore hard-to-reach places, but also prevent ecological disasters by obtaining data on the state of ecosystems before they start to degrade. And now, imagine how in the future such technologies will help us understand the underwater world more deeply and preserve it for future generations. Imagine a world beneath the waves where people can live and work in conditions reminiscent of a space station. This is not science fiction, but a reality we are striving towards. The Proteus project, inspired by the works of Stanisław Lem, presents an ambitious concept for the creation of a permanent research station at a depth of over 100 meters. This station will be equipped with a self-sustaining ecosystem that will allow researchers to stay underwater for months, perhaps even years. Each section of the station will have its own function, from laboratories for studying marine organisms to living modules with comfortable living conditions. Did you know that underwater stations can maintain oxygen levels sufficient for comfortable breathing, thanks to special air and water recycling systems? This means such stations can become true homes for scientists. Additionally, communication technologies will enable researchers to stay connected with colleagues on the surface, opening new horizons for collaborative research. The scientific possibilities of permanent underwater stations are immense. They will allow the study of deep-sea ecosystems in their natural habitat, something that is not possible with short-term expeditions where every minute counts. For example, the study of bioluminescent organisms that can glow in the dark will become more accessible, as underwater stations will allow for long-term observation of their behavior. But that's not all. The constant presence of scientists underwater will open unique opportunities for education and science popularization. Imagine students and young researchers participating in live broadcasts from underwater laboratories, observing experiments and asking questions in real time. This could inspire a new generation of scientists, just as space exploration programs have inspired millions of people around the world. Underwater stations can become the equivalent of orbital space stations, opening new horizons for scientific research. For example, the ISS, which has been in operation since 2001, has become a place for numerous experiments that cannot be conducted on Earth. And now, underwater stations can offer similar opportunities for studying the unique conditions of the deep-sea world, where pressure can reach 800 atmospheres and water temperature fluctuates around 0 degrees Celsius. Consider this. How will this affect our understanding of life on Earth and perhaps life on other planets? Such research may provide insights into how organisms survive in extreme conditions, thereby expanding the boundaries of our understanding of life in general. The ocean's depths plunge us into mysterious abysses where each wave whispers about mysteries yet unsolved by humanity. Imagine this. 95% of the ocean remains unexplored. This realm, teeming with life that often seems utterly alien, such as deep-sea fish with bioluminescent organs glowing in the darkness, reminds us that even in the darkest places life finds a way to exist. The ocean is not only the cradle of diversity, but also an untamed force capable of flooding shores and destroying cities, as seen in the 2004 tsunami that claimed over 200,000 lives. Hidden in the ocean's depths are not only resources like oil and gas, but also ancient artifacts such as sunken ships that tell the stories of lost civilizations and their dreams of great discoveries. These ruins lying on the seabed remind us of the fragility of human life in the face of nature's power. The ocean continually draws researchers, inspiring them with new discoveries, as each dive reveals new horizons, like the recent discovery of underwater mountain ranges stretching over tens of thousands of kilometers and serving as homes to ecosystems found nowhere else on land. Yet, what is also astonishing is how the ocean has become a symbol of the unknown, a source of inspiration for poets and artists throughout the ages.